Right. Welcome. Hello. Here we go. And here we are. Okay. Hi there. Hi, Odessa. I missed you yesterday, or God, last class. Um, can somebody make some sounds to make sure that I can hear you guys?
Hello, it's me.
Good.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello.
Cool. It's 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 so weird. These are what are they called? Sound something heads. Anyway, they mute everything around me.
Right.
And so the moment I put them on, I feel like, yeah, like all the like there's nothing there. And so I'm like, I need to hear someone to make sure that that I'm not just, that you guys aren't there either. Cause it's just the whole, so if a dog is barking or something like that, I can hear it back there, but it doesn't bug me. So if you ever hear a noise, in the background that's bugging you, if it's from you guys, I will hear it here. But if it's from me, you might need to tell me, hey, is your dog barking? Something like that, because I will not really notice it as much, which is good, but also bad in the sense that I will not notice it. Okay. So welcome back. Welcome back. How's everyone doing? How did the day go? And the day, there's been one day in between. There's kind of half a day and half a day, so it's really 2 days in between, but ultimately it kind of feels like there's only one day in between class. And in that time, I ask you to do a lot of stuff. For example, for the new people, I asked them to if they wanted to know more about updating, upgrading, and all that, to watch the old recordings. And for the people who were not here or missing yesterday, or who had to leave for part of it, remember that it's up to you to view the recording of the day before, class before, to make sure that you are caught up. Now, I don't expect you, Sue, if you missed the class, even if you watch the recording, you might not get it, because the whole point is that when you're in class, you get to ask back and forth. We check it out, but at least you have an idea of what we're talking about, and you know what you didn't get and what questions to ask. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And if now and then you don't have time between Monday and Wednesday, you can say that. That's okay. I'll say, hey, watch the recording over the weekend. But if you really didn't have time and something comes up that you need to know today for us to work today with it, I'm more than happy to explain. What I would like to not do is spend a ton of time on it. And I'll just kind of gloss over it enough that we can continue, and then ask you to go back and review the whole thing. So those of you who had to review videos, I'm not going to check on you, did you do it kind of thing. But if you did and you have questions left, or if anyone has questions about anything we covered last class, here, by the way, I'm taking my notes. My pen. I take notes of what we cover so that I can know next week how far we got. Okay. My pen wasn't working. All right. Yes, I see some hands up. So everyone get in row, get into place with hands up. And yes, Afra.
Good morning. I received an
Morning.
email from you, and you said that Tuesday and Thursday.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
My bad. I always copy the email that I have. It's form email, and I send it again and I change it. But I guess this time I didn't I changed the time. I think I changed it to 1 p.m. because last time it was 9 a.m. Tuesday, Thursday. I changed the time to the right time, but I guess I didn't change the dates. Thank you for telling me. I'm going in right now to because I keep them in the drafts, and then I copy from the draft and I paste the new one that I send every day. And so I will right now. Zoom link for today's, yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays. There it is. So let me change it to Mondays and Wednesdays. And I hope I didn't miss anyone who might have gotten
Okay, wonderful.
confused. There it is. I have corrected my draft so that hopefully, today is Wednesday. I was going to say, so the Wednesday one by next Monday, you'll have the right one. Thanks for pointing that out, Afram. Those are the kind of things that I would never know if you guys don't point them out, because I don't receive that. So thank you so much. Sometimes people remind me of other things. I send an email and it's like, oh, this isn't there. Don't assume that my word is God. I make mistakes. And if I say something that seems to make no sense, just ask me, right? And or email it back and go, hey, did you say that? All right. Sarah?
Yes, I'm still unable to get to my Google Drive. I talked to tech support yesterday and they said they'd look into it, but it's still not working. So and they don't open till 2:30, I think, but so I'm gonna hang on today, but I may not be able to participate much.
No, you can participate completely, because the handouts, the only thing they do right now is give you access to the recordings. And what you can do is email me next time and tell me I can't get access. Can you send me the recording? Because I don't want to send the recording individually to 31 people, but I'm happy to have you tell me, hey, I didn't get the recordings because I can't
Oh,
get in yet, and
okay.
I'll send you the link. Right?
That's great. Thank you.
So send me an email, in fact, now, so that when class is over, I'll remember to send you the link of last class and this class.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Fantastic. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. You guys, my goal is that you become acquainted with how to move in and out of the school material and all that, know how to get access to the handouts. But and yes, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I was sending everyone the links and it just went crazy. I have hundreds of students and hundreds of emails, and I couldn't do that. So now I just put the links there and you guys have to go get them. But if there's ever any issue you can't get in, you're always welcome to ask me. I can give you the stuff that you need or don't need. What I can't do, some people email me and ask me questions that require a long answer, like a whole explanation, a teaching, in which case I go, I'll explain that in class. Remind me. And I'll say, remind me of this question, and I'll tell you in class. But then remind me, okay? Because class comes, I have my things I'm going to teach, and I might forget that I told you that I would explain something. So remind me. But what I can't do is sit here and type out a whole explanation of a whole teaching thing that just, that is not something I can do on email. Okay. So when I say, oh, sure, let me know about that in class, and I'll tell you, that's the way to go. So yes, thank you. Viola. You're muted. Meanwhile, I'm doing this. Everyone, please go to the chat and give me a hey ho. By the way, on the chat, you don't need to write your name. You'll notice that I just wrote hello, and for you it says Diana Musacchio said hello, right? And so when you say Viola is here, on the top it says Viola said Viola is here. So you don't need to write your name. You're welcome to just say hi, good morning, whatever. But do go, everyone, to the chat and give me some sign of life, so to say, show of life. And remember, for example, Lynn, your last name is not on the, it just says Lynn. So, and it looks like you're in only with your iPad.
Right.
So it's great. This is just before I go.
You told us went Monday and I forgot. So can you remind me how to put my
No,
name?
hold on.
Oh.
More importantly, this is more important. You need to be connected with your iPad and your computer.
I am.
Where is your computer?
It's here, but you don't see it, I guess, because I'm not on the Zoom on that.
Exactly. You need to be on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need to go connect on your computer to Zoom, because when I say share your screen, that's the computer that you're going to share, not the iPad. So what you can do is put your name on that one, the one that you're going to connect. Okay. And the iPad is fine. I like it that it says iPad, because then I know what to expect and not expect for this one. But then on the Zoom one, the one that the laptop, when it's on Zoom, then that one will put your last name. Okay. So, cool. All right. So Viola, back to you.
Can I stay during break? I need your help.
Sure. But I much prefer you tell me what, so that I can know if it's going to take me a bit of break or all my break.
It's the split screen again. I got part of it, but the rest of it, we got sidetracked and I had no directions to follow, and I can't get them to stay there.
You mean the Zoom, right? Split screen? Is that what you mean?
The Zoom, whatever it comes on.
Let me actually answer a little bit of that to everyone because there's a couple different meanings to the split screen. One whole conversation is the Zoom, that it might be what you might be saying, which is you have to move Zoom to one side so that you can see me on the other side if you don't have two screens. But there's something called a split screen that's actually important. And I was going to cover it last class, not last class. When I say last week or next week, I always mean the next time I teach. So if Monday I say next week, I mean Wednesday. If in Wednesday I say last week, I mean Monday. But when I say last class, I might be referring to Intro to the Mac or something like that, right? So sometimes I need to specify. I was going to cover split screen and Intro to the Mac, and I barely raised on it. So I'm going to just show you a little bit about that right now because it might be useful for you. But and here's where I draw the line. It doesn't help with Zoom. Lynn.
Okay.
So Lynn,
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah,
to you.
gotcha.
On your computer. Oh, where are you?
I'm here.
Did you leave one?
No, I left one. Yes. Is
Oh.
that okay?
Yeah, you
Oh.
shouldn't leave because then what's the point of seeing me on the other one, right? No, you should have two on, but
Okay.
one sound has to be disconnected. So when you connect now with the iPad again, right? When it says connect to audio, say no. And it'll go, really? Are you sure? And you'll go, no. Are you sure? Continue. And so then it doesn't connect audio on the second device. It doesn't matter which. One of the devices has to have no audio. Does that make sense? And then you're fine. But you need to have two devices. Otherwise, right now you're seeing me through the computer that you're going to be working on. So that's not the point. Was that if you have an iPad, connect to Zoom 2 times, like you might see here. Maysan. Some people in my other class in Photoshop, a ton of people do it here. Some people do it, some people don't, but it's always the best way to not have to share one little screen with Zoom and doing the work. Okay.
How do I?
So just connect to the iPad again. And then when it asks you to connect to sound, to audio, it says connect to audio, and you should go, nope, do not, on whatever is your second device you connect on. Okay. So now let me see. I haven't greeted people yet. I was just dealing with questions, but let me see who's here today. Lots of you guys. Some of you weren't here last week, so that's good to see you. Odessa, Angelina, Bob, Afra, Sarah, and Julie, Anita, Jarmoon, Lynn, who is now joining on the other one. Alan, you weren't here last class, were you, Alan, on Monday?
No, I was away last
That's
class.
great.
I'm gonna
Barbara,
be traveling.
you mentioned you'd be in and out. That's good. So Lynn, I'm going to mute you because we can hear you guys talking in the background. There we go. So now you're muted, but if you have to say anything to me, you mute yourself because I won't be able to hear you. Barbara, Catherine, Susan, and Lynn, and Maysan, and Denise. Lynn this time, Lynn Sam. There's 2 Lynns. All right. So let me explain a little bit Viola's question. I'm going to share my entire screen right now. So here's my screen. And I will I notice that I have Safari open here. Let me just go to like SBCC, for example. So you'll see something on it. There's SBCC. And there's a thing there. I'm letting Lynn in on the iPad now, and make sure that when it asks you to join to audio, say no. All right. And then I'm going to open, I don't know, another window, for example, a Finder window. Remember, so here I have a Finder window and here I have Safari. So I taught you a little bit about the Stage Manager. There's all these other things I taught you during the first class, but one thing that we haven't had a chance to test is watch when I just watch it, on any of the windows that are there, there's these 3 little dots. Okay, and it's in Safari, or right now it's here in a Finder window. And since today we're going to be using a lot of Finder windows, I'm going to focus on the Finder window. So here I have these red, yellow, and green dots, and they look like gray when I'm actively in another program. See how those are red, green, and yellow now, and those are gray. Unless I hover over them, when I click on this, these are green and those are gray. So it means that whichever one has red, green, and yellow is the active program. Now, when I go and click on this little green button one time, my window suddenly enters this full screen mode. Now, full screen mode is its own creature. Some people love it, some people hate it. But when you're in this mode, notice that the dock at the bottom disappears, and at the top, the menu bar that you might not use much normally, but if you notice it, the little apple that I say, it's always on the top left of the screen. Well, there's no apple on the top left of the screen, and there's no dock in the bottom. This is full screen mode, and it's really good if you're watching a movie to enter full screen mode so that you just don't see anything in the way. But when you do need to get up to that menu bar at the very top, all you need to do is point your mouse and touch the top. So I'm just with the tip of my mouse touching the top of the screen, and see how it appeared. There's the finder, there's the up, all these things that we have at the top. But then the moment I move my mouse out, they disappear. Same with the dock. If I need my dock, I touch with the tip of my arrow to the bottom of the screen, and up comes the dock, right? So that's how you would do the whole full screen mode. Now, I want everyone to try that. To get out, I'm going to hit the escape key, and I'm back in non-normal screen mode. And this is a prelude to the split screen mode that Viola asked about. But first, we click one time, and we go into full screen mode. Some people really like to work in full screen mode all the time. For example, my son, it drives me crazy. He's always in full screen mode. It's like, it drives me crazy. Because how do you move around to find another app, right? And so you have to go down here, and then I would pull up, for example, Safari, but it would, to me, it doesn't work. That said, when I said to me it doesn't work, I want to be clear. There is a shortcut. I can do Command +++ and go around like that, but I'm not going to necessarily show you that right now. Just showing you how to get in and out of full screen mode. So when I want to get out, I either hit the escape key, or I put my mouse up here, and then the three buttons appear again, and I click again on the green one. So that's full screen mode. If full screen mode worked for you, if you were able to get in and out comfortably, if you're good with that, please give me a yes. Remember, we're going to practice. I'm practicing the yes and the no. Okay. This is you all tell me if you tried it and if it worked for you. And if it didn't work, you either have to just say no and I'll check in on you, or if you have a question about it, then you can raise your hand.
I can't say yes or no because I don't have the screen.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to get to that. That said, the split screen thing that I'm talking about doesn't really help for Zoom. I'll show you in a minute, and if you'll tell me if it works for you for Zoom. Everyone else, I'm seeing mostly yeses. So here's the thing. When you click on this, and don't just click, if you hover or if you click and hold down, you can also say tile window to left or to right of screen. And I have two things open right now. So if I say tile window to right of screen, it goes and it fills half the screen. So then my other one fills the other half. Does that make sense? So then I can have automatic filling of my screen half and half. Then when I'm done and I don't want to do that anymore, I can go over here I have my Zoom things in the way. I need to move my Zoom things out of the way. Then I can go ahead and hit the escape key again, and we go back to having the screens, half and half. So you need to get out of both modes. And this is the part that confuses me, at least at first. And that's why I want to explain it to you. Watch one more time. Just watch before you do it. I'll say, move. Well, see, I'll hold, and I'll say, I'm going to put the finder on the right side. If I just do that, and I have one other window open, the other one just kind of stays there until I click on it because I want to use it. Then it fills the other half of the screen. But now I have two halves of the screen open. And in fact, see this line in the middle? I can grab it and I can make.
Diane, we're not seeing that.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see you.
I know, but that tends to happen. So I'm going to stop share and do it again. It tends to happen that for some people, my shares, it hides under something. So I'm going to show this again. Okay. So here's what I was showing. Can you see now my half windows?
Yes.
Now I can put my mouse in the middle, this line, wait until it turns into like, there's this like gray bar, and I click and I can make it be not exactly half, right? I can say, I want to prioritize this one, I want to prioritize that one. So that's something that you can do. But then when you want to get out of this, right, you have to hit the escape key, but the one that's in the prioritized mode is the one that leaves the full screen mode. So I'm going to hit escape key, and this one left the school. So where did the other one go? Right? If I go and try to click on the Finder again, it's still full screen. So I need to hit escape. This is the part that I don't like. It feels a little bit clunky to me, that you need to leave both at the same time, you know, like you need one and then the other. But that's a good way to do full screen. Now, what if I had another Finder window? I have, hold on, I know that there's questions. What if I have 3 windows? I have 2 Finder windows open, and I have Safari. So if I now say enter window to the left of screen, then on the other side, I have 2 windows, because I had 3 this time instead of just 2 nice, neat ones. So now if I say, well, I want this one, then I have those 2 visible. The third one I can't see until I say the third one was Safari. So I have to go down here and I click on Safari and it takes over. So to me, it's a bit clunky, slightly not useful, a bit confusing, unless you truly need at some point 2 things next to each other and nothing else. I'm going to go ahead and click on this green thing to bring it down again. And then the other window now is missing, and I'm going to have to go do that. This is the part that I hate about it. Okay. So that's the automatic split screen mode. Viola, none of that probably helped you with Zoom, because when you enter split screen mode, Zoom kind of disappears. I'm going to stop my share. So when you say split screen, that is split screen. Let me, for now, get an answer from everyone. Let me clean your answers first to see if that whole, like, hold on. I can't see the bottom of this. Okay. If that split screen worked for you and you're like, oh, that's cool, give me a yes. If you're like, that was really confusing, I have no idea what you showed me, I need some help, then give me a no. And then the question is for Viola now. When you did that help at all with Zoom? I'm expecting the answer to be no. Yeah. Because what happens to Zoom, it kind of disappears. It doesn't, you know, become one of the windows. Zoom believes that it is there to not be seen. I don't know how to explain it. And so it does something that the rest of the programs don't do. So when you share screen, you don't see it. When you split screen, it doesn't count. So in order to see me and Zoom at the same time, it's literally a physical thing you need to do. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is the part that's really, really complicated. I can't share my Zoom. When I share my screen, it's as if Zoom wasn't there. In fact, you guys are here. You're here on the right side, hiding half of this window, but it's not showing itself. It doesn't do that. So what you need to do is physically move everything else out of the way. Remember, all of this is my Zoom right there that you don't see. And then choose the edges of your window to make them smaller. And you can do that to Zoom. You can grab the Zoom window and you can make it smaller so that it sits kind of like up there or something, so that you can watch me record my recording, right? If this were Zoom. And then you have the rest of the computer open to use with your own windows and all the stuff that we're teaching you. So this is kind of what I need you to do. It's not called split screen. This is just you physically grabbing Zoom where you can see my video and literally putting your mouse on the corners and making it smaller or bigger to get it into one side or one corner so that the rest of the screen is available for you to use. Is that something you can do, Viola?
I'm not sure I can do it, but that's what I want. I may have misused the word split screen.
No, that's fine, but it was a good one to explain because I knew I was going to do it last time, so I didn't. And we're going to do Finder windows right now. And for some people, it might be useful to do split screen. But the Finder window, sorry, the Zoom window is you by hand going to the ends of it, to the edges of it, and moving it to a place where it's a bit more out of the way by making it bigger or smaller. And that is the one thing I cannot help with. It's so frustrating that I cannot help with Zoom. I can help with everything else, but if you share your screen, I won't see your Zoom, so I can't help you tell
Oh,
you what to do
okay.
with it. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
I'll
It's
try again.
it's transparent. It's bizarre, but it is transparent, which means it's useless when it comes to explaining. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my screen again. Barbara, oh, your hand is up. Yep, Barbara.
Yeah, I can put 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever windows up, but I don't understand split screen. Or does that just mean you have 2 windows up?
It just means that instead of by hand moving things around, the computer does it for you. And I'm about to talk about a couple of windows, so I'll show this again in a minute when I get to that. So hang in there. And then when I put 2 or 3 more Finder windows, which we're all about to do, then I can show you one more time the split screen. But anyway, so first of all, I'm going to share my laptop screen with you. Now, for those of you who are veterans of my class, you know that my whole insides are screaming right now, right? Like, why? Someone who's been in my class before, when you see this, what are you thinking?
What is all that junk?
Get rid of all those.
It's a mess, too much
It's-
stuff on the desktop.
It's like, and me, I'm for teaching purposes, I have these big icons. So if I had the regular icons, I could fit, 50 more in here. Many of you guys either have screens that look like this, a little bit like this, more like this, worse, or you've taken my class and you're down to just a few or none, in which case, yay. All right. So my goal, and this is not to make you right or wrong, this is just to get an inkling of what's happening in the class. Okay. So even if you took the class and you still have a lot of stuff, I don't care. I don't even care who says yes or no. If you have less than 5 icons on the screen, give me a yes. Less than 5 of these things on your screen, give me a yes. If you have 10 or less, give me a no. 10 or less, give me a no. If you have more than 10, raise your hand. And again, this is just for me to distinguish. Raise your hand. Odessa, do you remember how to say yes, no, or raise your hand with the buttons? We ran over it again last class. I can't hear you. So if you're talking, I see your mouse moving. If you're talking, I can't hear you. If you're chewing, then that's fine. All right. So in order to raise, there we go. So I think you were raising your hand. So at the very bottom, Odessa, the bottom choice, it's like a long bar. That's the raise your hand. Okay. All right. So it looks like there's only a couple of you guys that have more than 10, and I don't care if it's 10 or 55 or 105. Quite a few of you have more than 10. And then a few of you guys, about the same amount, have 5 or less. So here's the goal. It's not so much about amount of stuff, it's what quality of stuff you have. So even those who have 5 or less might ultimately have big files, image files, or video files that are still going to slow down your computer more than people who have 100 or more little Word files, right? So what's happening is the following. Your files take up let's say physical, it's not physical, but your hard drive has a certain amount of space, and each little file, these are all different pieces of information or file or data, take up a little bit of that space. It's like you have a closet with, 5 t-shirts or 400 t-shirts. And some of them are tiny little tank tops and others are big old heavy winter coats, not say t-shirts, pieces of clothes. So the big old heavy winter coats take up the space of, like 25 little tank tops. That's kind of how it works in here too. So even if you only have 5, if you have a folder as one of those 5, and that folder inside of it has 250 things, it's as if you had 250 things on your desktop. Does that make sense? So all of those of you who said yes, because you have 5 or less, it's the quality of those 5 or less that you have that matters to me now. So if it's a folder that holds things, then double click on it and let's see what's inside of it. And if inside of it you see, 25 things, then you belong into the more. Does that make sense? So let me explain. I have only one folder here. When I open it, double clicking on it, this window opens and I see that there's a dad, mom, and a daughter. Each one of these could potentially have 40 things. And that means that I have 120 things and they are on my desktop. So just because they're tidy doesn't mean they're not on your desktop. Got it? So those of you who gave me a green yes, if you have 5 individual things like that, you can stay green. But if what you have is folders and there's stuff inside of them, then you got to flip over to red. Does that make sense? So you guys who gave me a green, you check your desktops, and if what you have is folders full of things, then you need to say that you have more than 5. Now, Odessa had her hand up and someone else had their hand up, and now I don't see it. Who was it? Was it Susan McIntyre? I think you had your hand up too, because now there's nothing there. So if you have, just to be clear, Susan, if you have more than 20, I believe it was you. I'm not sure what your answer was to that one. Okay. Hovering over a green dot and nothing happens. Oh, that's something Susan said in the chat.
That was earlier.
It was earlier. Yeah, I see that. Okay. So right now, I don't have an answer, yes or green or red or hand from you. So go ahead and choose. If you have more than 5, it was red. If you have more than 10, it was raise your hands. Okay. Now, why am I making you do this? It's because this stuff isn't just visually uncomfortable. For some of you might go, no, it's visually comfortable. I see where I can find everything, right? That would be a reason that you might want everything on there. I'm going to hopefully teach you to not need this. But most importantly, I'm going to tell you what things matter and what things don't, because clutter for clutter's sake isn't per se bad. It's just that if those files are images or videos or folders full of stuff, they are taking up too much space, and the computer, the system, needs desktop space to function. It looks like it's desktop space, but it just is empty space on the computer in order to work, in order to make the computer work fast. And whenever you wonder if things are beginning to slow down or not work well, it might have to do with that your computer is full. Sometimes it's just full of stuff, period, no matter where it is. And other times it's just that your desktop is full of stuff and it's using up that computing space, processing space that the computer needs. So we're going to talk a bit about that. Again, it wasn't about making you right or wrong, so I'm going to clean your answers. I just wanted to have an idea of what was happening there. And for the most part, I will recommend to get everything off the screen. And if you are the kind of people who go, no, I truly need things on the screen because otherwise I can't find them, then by the end of these 3 weeks of class, hopefully you will go, oh, okay, I see how to find them. I know exactly what to do with them. Or you might still say, okay, I'm fine with like 80% of these things being off the screen, but there's a couple that I still want on. And you can make your choice about how and why. And I'm going to show you some efficient ways to put things on the screen when you really need them. Okay. So first of all, your stuff might be nicely organized like mine, or it might be like it's kind of like this, you know, like all over the place. You know, that is a possibility because you've slowly been putting them in, right? So one thing you might want to do is that when something is kind of on top of each other, sometimes people have this kind of thing, or you can't even see what's underneath because, you know, things begin to be too many and they begin to hide. So if that's kind of where you're at, there's a kind of a quick fix to make things get a little bit more organized, which is we're going to go up here. And by the way, notice that I have every other app is turned off, right? This is important for this class. When you look at your dock, there should be no little black dots anywhere except for Finder, because that's the computer running, and Zoom, because we're on Zoom. Other than that, if there's any other dot under any app, you need to quit. So you do a right click and quit. So right click and quit anything else that's open, please, and leave only Finder dots and Zoom dots. Okay, because we need to start this class, we need a completely empty computer. And now, one second, I see your hand is up. Now, when you have all other windows out of the way and gone, even if the Finder is on, you might have windows like this, Finder windows, and the Finder is still on, then close that window. Okay, so now you're left with just your desktop. Some of you guys means that it's almost empty. Others have a lot of stuff, but let's go ahead and go to View. Up here, it'll say Finder, View, and then you can do Clean Up, and you can do Clean Up by name or by kind or by date modified, date created. The only problem if I do that, for a lot of you guys, if you reason you have things on the desktop because that's how you find them, if you do that, then things are going to maybe not be where you thought they were because they're going to move all over the place. Another thing you can do is, so I'm going to say clean up by name, and boom, everything moved around. And now they're more in alphabetical order. But on the Mac, alphabetical order on the desktop starts from right to left. So if I only have 10 things, they stack up on the right. So they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's kind of like reading backwards, okay? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, that kind of thing. That's how it would work if it's alphabetical order. So over here, you'll have numbers because it's actually alphanumeric order, meaning numbers come before the A. So here I have the 2023, 805, and then I start with a B, and then as I go up, it says D, F, G, and then I have a ton of S for screenshots, and at the very end, I have a U for Unsplash. So that is alphabetical order, only kind of backwards. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm on my other computer and I've got my screen up and I've got my my desktop icons there. So at the top, it just says Zoom Workplace Meeting and View. I'm trying to see at the top, you have Finder File Edit.
Yeah, so go down and click somewhere on the desktop. Like if you have Zoom connected, like right now, I'm going to click my Zoom. Then over there, it would say Zoom. But if you click on your desktop or on this Finder, if you click on this Finder window, then a window will open. But if you close it, it would still say Finder up there.
Okay. All right, I got it now. Okay.
So whenever, segue to that question, the Finder is how we find things in our computer. The desktop is that, it's like if you go into your office, right? And you are a tidy person who puts everything away in drawers and shelves or whatever, then your desktop is empty. That would be an example of my husband. I always give an example of the extreme, which is my husband, versus you walk into my desk and there's like little piles of things on my desk. So my literal desk, my actual physical desk looks more like this that I'm showing you here. Whereas my husband's desk is barren, right? Which would be an empty desktop. On my computer, on the other hand, I try to be much more organized. So on my computer, I don't have stuff lying around. This would be the equivalent. But the Finder is that desktop. The Finder is, okay, how do I go and look inside that computer? Well, on my desktop, I have all these things. I'm going to open a Finder window to look inside my Office desktop, and I'll go into one drawer. I have that stuff, another drawer. I have that stuff, another drawer. So this would be the drawers inside my computer. One of them is the desktop is one drawer, so to say. So if I click on the background, any part in the background, I would always see that it says Finder. Like I'm saying click. You can't see me click, but right now I'm doing click, and that brings a Finder window up. Okay. Now, if you want to sort, if you just say clean up, it doesn't reorganize stuff. It just cleans it up. It just puts it in like little, in this grid fat pattern right there, but it doesn't organize it by anything. But I could organize it by kind, for example, and then I'll have like my folders went over here, my JPEGs went over there, my other type one. So you can organize by different things. If you're trying to organize your stuff, this might help because it'll put all the photos in one side, it'll put all the Word files in another. So that would help. If I say snap to grid, then mine is already snap to grid. So it's not, it didn't do much when I did that, but snap to grid would be this, that it just forces things to drop off only in that grid. If I try to move it, now it won't move unless it fits into that grid. See, I'm moving things around and they're forcefully going into that grid. I'm going to undo the snap to grid. Use stack. I'll show you use stacks later. Okay. So now, why am I talking about all of this is because, oh, now I did snap to grid and this one's going to stay out there. Let me undo that. Let me clean up by name again so that disappear. All right. Even though I'm showing you how to organize them on the desk, my goal is for you to have 1, 2, 5 or less of the good kind. So let's all open a Finder window, which right now on top of all this mess will look like it's one more messy thing, but here's a Finder window. I'm sorry, Barbara, you had a question. I thought you had asked it and I think you didn't. What was your question?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Normally I notice, but oh, you know what happened? Susan asked and I answered, and then that in my brain meant I answered, and I noticed now that it was
Oh,
Susan.
I know what I wanted to ask. I have folders
Mhm.
on my desktop, but
Yeah.
I have like a folder for your Mac class and I have a folder for your Photoshop class.
Mhm.
And I have the photos in it because it's easier to get to.
Mhm. So
When
Barbara, that's a great
when I'm
question.
in class, I'm on Zoom and I have Photoshop open or whatever open. It's
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. I completely agree with what you're saying, but there's a way to have a folder on the desktop that will still put your files, all those Photoshop folders. She takes my Photoshop class, which I send some really big photo files, some raw images, lots of material in those photo folders. That on your desktop is really bad for your computer. So there's a way to keep an image of that on your computer, even if you have on your desktop, even if you have the stuff buried in the bowels of the computer. And that's what I'm going to teach you to do.
Oh, thank you. That'd
Okay.
be great.
So that is, you can have the folder there, but it'll be just a button that takes you to the thing. Just like these guys in the dock, they're
Right.
not the application. They're a button that tells me to that application. So I'm going to
Oh,
show you
that
how to
would be
do that.
cool.
Okay.
I mean, my computer runs nice and fast, but if it's not good for it,
Yeah. Well, ultimately, and here's the thing. It runs nice and fast until it doesn't. And at that point, maybe 6 months from now, maybe 3 years from now, but at that point, you've gotten so accustomed to have everything here that it's even harder to move everything to the right place. So let's just start by moving things to the right place, which is always the documents folder is where they should be in. And then what you do is you put on your desktop just the things that need to be quickly accessed with something called an alias. So I'm gonna walk you through the steps.
great.
So first of all, open up the window. And once again, how I did this, I went to this Finder and clicked one time and opened up a Finder window. So last class, I taught you how to put these 2 bars down here. And I believe a couple of people are joining us today who don't have it. Alan, you already have it that way. Odessa, I'm not sure. Have you in the past put these two bars on yours? The status bar and the Pathfinder bar?
No, no, I haven't.
Okay. So this is look, you guys, click on anything down here on the left. Click on something that's not the word recents. Click on downloads, for example.
Okay,
Okay. Then if you go down at the bottom, if you see something that says 160 items, whatever, 2 items, 10 items, whatever you have, and then if you see another row that has lots of little folders like this, that kind of thing, then that means you're good. If so, don't do anything.
I
Wait
don't
it
have
out.
that at the bottom of mine.
And if you don't, then I'm going to show Odessa how to get them, but I don't want anyone who has them to take them off. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. If you don't have them right now, then yours looks like this, that when you go to the bottom, there's nothing there, right? So go all the way up here to this word that says Finder.
Yep.
And go 1, 2, 3 further right to the view.
Yep,
And then we'll head down and you're going to click on Show Path Bar.
got it.
And then you're going to go back to view and you're going to click on Show Status Bar.
Show path.
I have show tab bar or show all tabs. Oh, status bar, got it. Oh, look at that.
Down there, show status bar. And then one we did at the very beginning with with the class is we also went over here to, it says view. And by the way, people from last class, I told this people in the intro to the Mac. So people from when we came here last class, I also told them to go to view and say show tab bar. So click on show tab bar and we'll explain all these things
Hi.
a little bit later. Now that all these things are on, then we are all ready to start understanding this Finder window. First of all, see what I'm doing to make it bigger or smaller? I'm grabbing the bottom right corner. And so when I touch the bottom right corner of this window, I get this double-headed arrow and I wait until I see the double-headed arrow. Then I can click and drag to make it bigger or smaller or wider or skinnier. Okay. Now, if I want to only make it thinner, I go to the right side and wait until I get a double-headed arrow and then I make it in. But watch what's going to happen. If I make it too small, pay attention to my screen for a minute. If I make it skinnier and skinnier and skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, what just happened between that and this, there and there? What's the big difference?
The
Sidebar.
left column closes.
The whole sidebar that was there closed. And this sidebar, it's like you're navigating in an unknown city and you lose your map. It's like, whoa, this is tons of streets that you don't know where to go. This is your how to get there. So make sure that you don't have this too small because you need to see that. Even if this looks totally different than me, this is something you need to see. Okay, so make sure you don't make it that small. Now you can make this smaller from the right or from the left or from the top or from the bottom, you know. And then to move the window around, remember it's just that top half inch of the screen, the title bar. You click over there and you move things over there. But if you try to click over here to move it, nothing happens. Okay, and here nothing happens. It needs to be up there. All right, so that's the basic functioning of a window. Now I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. And now you can go up here to the, this is all review. So I'm going kind of fast. If you need me to stop, please, for any questions, please raise your hands or speak up in the midst of this whole like review. But very importantly, if one of these things doesn't work for you, please speak up. Like really, don't just let it go and continue later. If my little sidebar is too small, I can put my mouse in the middle of them both and make my sidebar bigger. I certainly don't need a big sidebar. I'm just showing you how to do it. But if it's too small like that you can't even read the names, then make it a little bit bigger, okay? Now, I don't need to make it as big as this whole thing. I only need to make it as big as the majority of these words, like downloads and documents and desktop. That's about big enough. And then I can imagine that this is mine. You wouldn't have this one, for example. I'm going to show you how to put extra things on here. All right. So now that you know how to do the basic functioning, every one of us, we're going to click on applications. Applications. All right. Alan?
Yes, I didn't see how to organize it by date. You showed the previous screen, you showed.
Up here, view, clean up by date created or date modified.
Oh, I see. And then it'll list it, it'll show the sequence of.
Well, everything kind of arranges itself, which kind of helps if you want to see what is what if you say by date modified, over here will be the things that you're using a lot, and here will be things that have been there forever that you haven't used. And it's like, why is it even doing there on my desktop if it's been there forever, right? And I think this one's from 2014 and I've never changed it. Then does it really need to sit on my desktop? That kind of thing.
The other screen you showed, it showed
Oh,
30
you
days
do that?
old. It showed, it showed.
Oh, that's in the Finder window.
Okay.
Okay, so that's something I'm about to explain. That's in the Finder window. I thought you had mentioned that. In the Finder window, this is what you're talking about today. I'll talk about that in a minute. For now, please go to applications.
Okay.
That's part of what I'm going to teach you, but I can't teach you, what is it? The horse before the, what's the saying? Something.
Cart before the horse.
A part.
But before the-
So, for those of you who don't know me well, you guys, I'm from Argentina. I know that I don't sound like it, but English is my second language. And whenever it comes to the sayings, I will say them totally wrong. I will get them mixed up. I will translate one that's in Spanish into English, and you're all going to be like, what? So I tend to start it and then I fizzle out, and then I'll let you guys finish it because I just don't remember how to say it completely.
The horse before the cart.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say it. Typical of me, I could have said it that way. All right. So, click on applications. Everyone click on applications, because the first thing I need to do is I need to have us all have similar things in here. And most of you have things in here that start with the App Store, but let's view them. For first, let's view them as icons. Applications, and then in the Finder window, I have the choice to view them as icons. Now, if your window is pretty big, then you can see these are how you change views. But if your window is pretty small, then they've collapsed. And then you can see them like that, or like that, or like that. Okay, so that is what we're doing. We're viewing as icons. I'm going to go ahead and reshare my window so that it's only this big, so you guys can make me smaller and have more space for yours. Because now we're going to hover and live a little bit in our icons for a bit, in our Finder window only for a bit. So hopefully you have one Finder window on the right side of your screen or left side, and you have me on the other side, and we can do the same things. Alan, is that another question, or is it just we didn't lower your hand?
Oh, I didn't lower my
Okay,
hand.
got it.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Why is my video? Oh, my video is off on this computer, right? Yeah. Is my other one off too? No, you've been seeing me somewhere. Yeah, you've been seeing me somewhere. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I have a whole bunch of applications that start with A because they are Adobe. But if you don't have Adobe installed, then most people have their first app is the App Store, right? And then it kind of goes down. I have a Brother printer, so I have a Brother folder, but you might not have it. I have Blackmagic Draw, which is a video editing app that you probably don't have. So you will have not only what came with the computer, but also what you installed. Okay. And right now it's all in icon view. I considered this to be the most useless icon, the most useless view of them all, because all I can see here is the name. That's it. I know nothing else. When you have any other of the views, you find out much more. Okay. And so I will always have the only way that I would like icon view is if I am working specifically with images. Like if there's a folder where I'm specifically trying to see only photos, then this kind of works because then I can see little tiny drawings, thumbnails of my photos. But that is rare because ultimately I do use the Photos app to really see my photos, but that would be the only reason icon view would be useful to me. So we're going to leave this here as a relic, and we're going to move over to the next view, which is as list. When I say a relic is because this is how the Mac began to distinguish itself from the Windows computers, and that it began by having icons to make things more logical than just lines of code, which is what Windows at the time that the Mac started. Windows was just little lines of code, and that's how you saw things. And people were like, I have no idea what this is. And then suddenly these icons began, and suddenly people thought, oh, maybe I can use a computer, right? But that's the way the phones and the iPads still work is you see a little icon and you click on it and the app opens, right? But it doesn't tell you anything about that. So let's move on to as list. All right. As list is, there's two favorite views for me. As list is one of those favorite views. And over here on the left side, I see the name of that same file. So here's my app store. Here's my, books, my brother that I was showing, the calculator. But then on top of that, I get to see when that was last modified, what size that file is, what kind of file that is. So I have information here on the right, which for an application might matter a little bit less. But you'll see at some point it won't. At some point it'll be good, because if you start looking at the dates, you might discover that you have applications from 2001, 2018, 2021, not 18, not 2001, 2013, stuff that's been sitting there for eons in your computer that are completely useless to you, and that you need to definitely consider getting rid of. So it's not, so like my oldest thing I'm finding there, a 2022, that's not too bad in comparison to the rest is 2013 and 2024. So if you guys begin to see the things that are really old, then you might be questioning, do I still use that? Do I still not use that? Do I need it or don't need it? Because truly, if it's 2018, at this point, you probably should have downloaded an update for that, and it should be a newer date, right? We're going to talk much more about what to get rid of or not. Right now, we're in the touring our computer mode, where we're understanding what's there, how to find out stuff, and then I'm going to take you to tools where you can begin to get rid of this old stuff or good stuff or installers, all of that. We're gonna visit all of that. But right now, this is more like let's sit on the tour bus and just look at our computers and understand what's there. So yes, Lynn, I can't hear you. Your sound is off on your other device, on the one that's you need to unmute yourself on the computer. I can't hear you. So if you're talking to me. So you have two devices. Like I said, one has no sound. The one that's on your right, where you look at me on your right, that one has no sound. But the one that I don't see you through, which I believe is your computer, that's the one that has sound that you need to unmute yourself. Okay, the one that you're looking at.
Okay, now
There
it's
you
good.
go. Perfect. Got it.
Okay, so looking at Finder, I have an Adobe Reader file that says 21513. Does that mean I can get rid of it?
Yeah, but in fact, hold on. It's not that you need to get rid of it. The Adobe Reader is a really useful app. What you need to do is you need to update it. But yeah,
Got it.
I'm gonna begin to show you now how to be able to tell if you've never used it and you haven't used it since 2013. Maybe, yeah, you need to get rid of it. I'm going to show you some other tools that'll allow us to learn more
Assess
about
that.
it. Yeah, for now, if it's an application that you know that is valid and correct, you could open it, and to open it from here, you can double click on it and it'll open, and it'll tell you at the top whether it needs to update itself or not. That's one way to do it. But if you find a name that you don't recognize, like what's this Blackmagic Raw, don't open it. This is a rule for everyone. Don't open things that you don't know what they are, because it could have been that something downloaded mistakenly or on purpose to ruin your computer. And if you open one of these, it could run viruses in your computer. So make sure that it's something you recognize. And Lynn, you still are doing,
I don't know what to do.
yeah,
Mute me.
you have two things on. One, it says that you're off, and one, it says connecting to audio. So I don't understand. Oh, you have
Exactly.
three. No, you have three things on.
Oh, my phone too?
Your phone is on too.
So disconnect that.
Disconnect one of
That's
them, yeah.
disconnected. Now, how do I get off of the,
Oh,
one of the two? This one.
okay. So the one that you're looking at right now, because I can see you looking straight at me, that one, it says connecting to audio. So is it asking you, can I connect?
Yes, I guess.
Okay. So then say no to that one, but then on the iPad, you need to unmute yourself. Or
How do I say no?
there,
Allow-
okay, hold on. You have three things up.
I'm gonna turn off.
Mute yourself, please. I'm gonna mute you. Okay, I've muted you because I couldn't even talk to you. I've muted you on, you're muted on all three. You do know where the mute unmute button is on your computer? So if you were to unmute yourself, you don't see it anywhere? Let me stop my screen. You should see the mute unmute button on the bottom left of all your little icons. Do you see the audio button? On your computer now. I'm talking about your computer. Okay, so then next to the little audio button, there's a little tiny triangle that points upwards. Click on that little triangle, and then there's a menu that appears, and the bottom up, the second up says leave computer audio.
Oh, that's so tiny.
Okay, that's the leave computer audio. And now it keeps trying to connect. Now you need to go to another one of your devices and connect. Now I'm not sure why you have three, right? Two should be enough, but if you have three, then you need to disconnect the sound on three of them. Lynn, I'm still talking to you. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself on one of them because I hear your voice.
Okay, I just unmuted one.
Okay, so leave that one. That one works. Go to your other two, whatever the other two are, and see if you can find the same situation where you need to disconnect from audio. Otherwise, just close one of them, close the phone, like leave it from your phone. Leave only two up because this is going to be hard to handle. And I need your iPad for you to look at me and your
Okay.
computer to work, but we don't need three things.
Okay, I don't know what to do.
I'll let you handle that while I continue answering questions, but I've muted you on all three so that we can, well, not on all three. You're still up on your computer and that's good. All right, Julie.
On my application screen across the top where it says name, size, kind, and then it says date added. How come I don't have a modified? You had a modified on your,
Yeah, so I kind of got interrupted, but I wanted to share with you, but we can change what we see there, okay? So for now, if you say date added and I say date modified, don't worry, I'm gonna get there. Give me a second. I'm trying to make sure everyone asks me
okay.
their.
I thought I messed up and.
No. Whatever it comes with automatically is what's there. I change it so much when I teach. I'm not sure if the automatic one is modified or they last opened or one of these is the most typical one. But whatever you see at the top, up there is, and what she's talking about is this name, date modified, size, kind. On my other computer, I see name, size, kind, and date added, for example. That's on my other computer. So it's something we can change, but hold on.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there was one more hand up. That's why I said, hold on, but now I don't see that hand.
I answered my own question.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Lynn, your hand is up. Is that a new hand or is it from before? It's okay. Then I'll drop it. I'll drop your hand. Don't worry. Okay. All right. So now again, yes, Julie, I just wanted to see what the questions were. Now, yes. So guys, up here, each one of these is a column of data. Okay. It matters for our apps, but more so, it matters for our data. So look here on your screen and click on anything that you find that says the word documents. You might find it up there, down there. Click on the word documents. Now, when we clicked on the word documents, some of you might have reverted again to some other view, to something like that or something like that. So go back and change it back to as list, okay? Because sometimes this doesn't default to this view and you need to shift it unless I'll show you how to default it. But right now, move it back to as list. Now, one thing that's happening here is that I'm seeing only name and my date modified is way over there. And I have to make this window much bigger if I want to kind of see the rest. So why is that? At some point, you can put your mouse between these names where there's a line and you can click and you make a column much bigger or much smaller. See that? Much bigger or much smaller. So I had it like that. So suddenly I have all this extra space that I don't need. So then I'll put my mouse over there and I'll make it much smaller. Now you need to make it small enough that you still see the word. So here it says butternut squash soup. If I make this much smaller, then it says butternut and then oop, because it puts 3 little dots. It makes in the middle of the word, it puts 3 little dots to let you know that that name has been truncated. Cheese ache, chocolate hip, right? But look what happens if I just hover over this with my mouse. I'm not even, you know, one thing is to click on it, right? If I click on it, but another thing is to hover. I'm just hovering and it says the whole name. So if I put my mouse over this and I don't do anything else, it says butternut squash soup. You see that? It says cheesecake. It says chocolate chip. It says, and I'm going to hover, just put my mouse there without clicking, lemon coconut. Does that make sense? Does that work for you guys? So if you ever need, because of space, to have something really tiny, don't despair. Just hover over it and that'll say peanut butter. That'll say online return center. Does that make sense? Mac Fall 2024. If that's working for you, and you were able to make the columns bigger or smaller, let me know. The thing is, give me a yes. And then over here, like the next one for me is date modified. For you, it might a different one. Don't worry, whatever it is. Again, it's got 6:20, 8:24, 1:48 p.m. As I make it much smaller, it moves to being just 6:20, 8:24. If I make it much bigger, it says June 28, 2024. So depending on the size it has, it goes really big or really small. You might have date added, date modified, but if you have a date something, how much of this you see gives you more specificity or less. Okay.
Diane, I'm
So,
hovering up.
Susan, 1 second. I love answering questions, but a couple of times I've answered you because you speak up and there's people with their hands up. So can you raise your hand? I mean, sometimes it's fine
Oh,
to,
sure.
to speak up, but when there's hands up, I want to honor hands up. So yeah, no, just explaining. On the one hand, I tell you guys speak up, but I also want to make sure that if you look and if there's someone else who has a question, to just raise your hand. Yeah, Denise.
I am not able to condense the space between the columns. How did you get that cross or whatever?
You see how there's a little line right there between the word date modified and size? There's a little gray line. When I put my mouse over it, I get the 2-headed arrow. Then I click and I drag. Okay, so you need to put your mouse here and.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, you're welcome. So it's a very manual, thing where you click and drag. Yes, Susan.
Yeah, I'm hovering over everything, but there's nothing unless I click on it.
Well, is the name
Oh.
totally there?
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah. 'Cause
My sidebar is kind of covering up
Oh, okay.
the verbiage here. I'm trying to drag it, but nothing's
Plus,
happening.
you need to have the name not fit, because if I hover over this, it's fitting, right? So it would only work if my name is tiny. Then when I hover over it, and I have to let it sit still, like I move my mouse over and I let go, then it says the whole thing, but it needs to be slightly hidden. If this is big enough that nothing hides, then there's no hovering, the name is there. So make sure that you see the 3 little dots for it to make a difference. Over here, I touch this without clicking, just put my mouse over it and it turns into fall 2024 Photoshop class files, right? Versus downloads, it doesn't, because it says download, so it doesn't need to switch to tell me anything. But this one, see how it has 3 little dots? So if I hover, put the tip of my mouse, and this is the important thing, guys. Look at my screen. This is important. If I were to want to click on downloads right now, my mouse is on top of downloads, isn't it? Right there. My mouse is on top of the word downloads, but the tip is not. The tip is pointing to applications, so that if I click, applications get, even though most of my mouse is on downloads, applications is what gets selected. That's because the only valid thing on the mouse is always the very tip. So I don't want to point to things like that. I want to point to things like that. Really tip, 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 tip. Okay. Okay. So now what the question that Julie asked a while ago was, why does mine say date added or different things than mine? Well, we can choose what we want in here. So for example, what if I want to put in date added for some reason? I'm going to do right click. And when I right click, by the way, where do I right click? On any of these names, size, kind, name, like on that part of the bar. I put my mouse there, not there, not there, but right there. I do a right click. And then I can say, I want to see date last opened. So now I have a new column, date last opened. Or I want to see, and I'm going to right click and I say, I want to see, whatever, date added. Oh, I already did date added, didn't I? No. So here it is. It's just that I need to keep it, make it bigger. So suddenly I'm seeing date added, date last opened, kind, size, date modified, name. I'm saying a ton of them, right?
Where did you click? I'm sorry. Where did you?
Okay, anywhere on the
Oh, on
name,
that far. Okay.
size, kind, date last open, anywhere that already has that name, you do a right click and you choose something else. I'm going to put date created. So now these things I need to keep opening up. I put so many. Right now I have name, date modified, date created, size, kind, date last open, date added. I don't need this much, by the way. I'm just adding them to show you, right? But normally I don't need these many things, okay? So say I don't want date added anymore. It's very easy. I click on the word date added and see how there's a check mark on all the ones that I see? I just check again the one that I don't want. I'm going to click on date added. So when I have it checked, it unchecks it and it disappears.
Thank you. Thank you.
Date modified, I can click, and clicking on date modified disappears. But now I'm like, oh, maybe I do want date modified. So I click on it and see how there's no check mark it. So now I turn it on again, right? So that's how you add or change one or the other. And so date last opened is pretty useful because, well, look at that. Looks like I haven't opened this since 2021. See? Ooh, so does that mean I need it? I don't know. It's a screenshot. So guess what I'm going to do to see what's in there? I'm going to hit my space bar and it'll show me, oh, this is a choose an iCloud email address. This is a screenshot from a class that I taken or used since 2021. In fact, it's a very old operating system I don't need anymore. And so I'm just going to get rid of it. So the first way, I know this is little tiny potatoes, so take one out, but I'm going to do that. I looked at the date and went, okay, that's weird. That's a screenshot. A screenshot, something I take that I just really want to see quickly. And I look at it and go, I don't need that anymore. So I'm going to right click on it and move it to the trash. It's small potatoes to get rid of one, but that says how it starts. Okay. And not because it's old, does it need to be get rid of, gotten rid of, by the way. If I have something I wrote, a novel that I wrote 10 years ago, I might not have amended it. I still don't want to get rid of it. So I'm not saying that because it's old, you need to get rid of it. But in this case, if it's a screenshot, it gives me an indication something must be wrong. If it's an application, it might give me an idea that it's outdated, right? So it depends on what it is. All right. So notice that over here in applications, I still see only name, date, modified, size, and kind. But under documents, I had turned all these other things on. So you can have things that matter more depending on where you are. And for applications, it might matter date last opened to see if I've ever seen it versus date modified. Who cares? Date modified, but date last opened might matter because then I can go, oh, have I not opened this since? Oh, and watch, by the way, I'm gonna put date last open at the very beginning. I'm gonna grab this word and drag it over. So now I've made this column be the biggest one, or I can move kind and drag it over, or date modified, drag it over. So I can decide what's the most important thing. In this case, I'm going to say maybe date modified matters more, or date whatever. So I'm going to get rid of them and leave this on the basic set. Okay. So you can move things around. I'm going to put kind in front of size, or I can put size in front of date modified. I can make them bigger or smaller. And there's one last thing, and then I'm going to make this a bit smaller so it's easier for you guys to see. And then one last thing you can do here is change the order. So watch, this is name, right? Name. So A, B, B, C, D, right? F, G. Watch, if I click the word name again, just by clicking it again, it went upside down. Now it's Z, W, V, T. It's upside down. So if I click the word name again, A, B, C. So it alters, it inverts the order. In fact, there's a little arrow here that points down and up if you click on that. But really all you need to do is click on the column and it goes from A to Z. Does that make sense? Same thing with this. If I want to see my biggest ones or my smallest ones right now, it's showing these by name. So if instead I want to format these things and say, I want to see which is my biggest or my smallest of all my apps, I will click on the word size. And now everything is organized by size. And my biggest app at the top, see how it doesn't say A anymore? The A stuff is somewhere else, A, B, C. It's organized by size with 3.82 gigabytes being much bigger than 735 megabytes, because this is like an inch to a mile, right? So you need 1,000 megabytes to make 1 gigabyte. So this is bigger than 1 gigabyte, and this is smaller than 1 gigabyte. So now this is my biggest file form movie. Or I might want to see the smallest one. So I click on the word size again, and then it's the other way around. I see my smallest ones. I'm going to double click again. Now, what if I want to see which one is the oldest one or the newest one? I click on the word date modified. Looks like this was modified yesterday. And then if I click around, then the last one modified was in 2022. These 2 or 3 are from 2022. Okay. So that's how you use these things. You go up and down, you organize by kind, and you go up and down, or now back to name and A. All right, I've shown you a lot of stuff. Hopefully there's a lot of hands up and questions. Yeah, I used to see 3, now I see only 1. So I guess your questions have been self-answered. But now, Bob.
Yeah, what exactly does modified mean? Is it that it's there, it's been created, and then you went back to it and changed it, or
Yeah, it's a great question. Modified has to do with when that app has been accessed and updated, for example. So like GarageBand, I haven't used for a while. So it's sitting there, but it's not the same as last opened. Okay. So sometimes maybe I haven't opened Outlook forever, but maybe it got an update or something like that. Right. And so it was last modified, it seems yesterday, but I haven't used it literally in forever in this computer. OneNote, I think I've used never in this computer, but it says 9/24 because it might have gotten an update to it. Does that make sense? So a lot of this
Sure.
isn't you, it's the system. Okay. Versus other stuff that might be you when you did stuff. But so I want to say that 99% of this is because I'm in the applications mode. If I were in my documents, right? And if I have date modified, then it has to do this might do much more with me. So this one I haven't used since 2021. This one since April 6, 2022. This one is from July 2024. And now I'm in my documents. But when I'm with applications, I don't modify my apps. The computer modifies my apps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're looking at, what date modified means. Okay. I want to
Okay.
answer a question that Donna wrote in the chat. It said, my document is empty. First of all, if your document is empty, we'll get to that because that's really, if you have any stuff that's yours, that's where it should be, but it could be that you have it in other places and we will figure it out and put them in the right place. It could be that you have nothing in your computer that you've made. So guys, in the documents, it starts empty. When you buy the computer, it starts empty. It's stuff you make, letters you write, or photos you take, or whatever it is that you do goes in here. And some people just use their computers for checking the internet, for checking email, shopping on the internet, reading the news, texting. All of that doesn't create documents. You might be using your computer all the time watching movies, but you don't create documents, right? So that's thing. And then, oh, you said my document is empty. And then you said I have a folder called documents that has documents. Okay, so we need to figure out what's happening because you might have things in the wrong place, but that's okay. Your documents might be a folder of documents that is not in your documents folder. We'll get to expect individual ones. A lot of the times I find that by explaining the generalities, then people begin to explore and understand their own things. That's not to say that I don't want individual questions, but hang in there. I'm not yet at the details of what has who in each place. I'm kind of giving you the big tour. And then I'm going to start, okay, guys, let's open this. What do you have in there? Let's open this. What do you have in there? So wait until we get to there, Donna, to remind me again about your documents folder that doesn't have documents and the folder that does. Okay. So if everyone has been able, let me clear your hands. I've been doing a lot of showing you around the list view is what we've been doing, how to modify how you see the information in the list view. If that is something that I'm going to take one of these off. I don't want so many on to start with. I think, I don't know what the default was anymore. I hope I changed so many on and on. I'm not sure which are the default. Someone who has never changed this before. So someone who has never changed this before, which are the default name, date, size, kind, someone who has never done any of this before because it's the first time you hear about it. What do you see up here? Hello?
You have it right.
Same
I
as
have the
you.
same. It's the name and then they modified and then Sai and Kai.
Okay, so if that's so, Robin, you too, you think you say that too? Okay, so that is the default ones. Okay, so then I'm gonna go and change my other computer to show those because that means that that's what the default. I changed this when I talk to people to teach this, and then later I don't know how I don't put it back into the default ones. Then I don't know. Okay, great, cool. So if this worked for you, you were able to move in and out of name, date modified, go from Z to A to Z, change the column size, add date open, take away date opened. If all of that is working, see by biggest to smallest, smallest to biggest, et cetera, et cetera. If that worked for you, please give me a yes. If something isn't really clear, this is important because we're going to start moving inside of all these files, but I'm going to say things like, well, go check your size. And you'll know that I mean, go here, go check your day, and it'll go over here, right? So I want to make sure that everyone is comfy with these concepts. and that it worked. Okay, if I don't see an answer from you, I'll go in and I'll ask individually, right? So how's it going over there, Jarmoon? I haven't heard from you much today. Is everything good? Let me see. Lynn, are you in 2 or in 3 things anymore? 2, right? So I can see you in those 2. And I don't see an answer in either one. When you have 3, I have to check 3, but oh yeah, you're in 3. You're in 3 and I see answer in one of them. Okay, there you go. You're in your phone, your iPad, and your computer, and you've answered one of them. Got it. Otherwise, you have to tell me I did answer on your other one. Okay. Good. Most of you, everyone has answered except for Jarmoon. If you hear me, Jarmoon, and you have something you can tell me, let me know. All right. Cool. So now, the next thing is, how do we operate this list view? If you have a folder somewhere, and you might not, right? If you're in everyone, I told you to go to documents, right? If you go up and down documents and you just see a lot of stuff, then this is not going to work. But if you see a folder somewhere, you would see this little blue thing and you would see that there's an arrow next to it. If so, I want to see inside this thing called do not remove files, for example. I'm going to click on that teensy little arrow one time, and that opened up. And what I discover is that inside that folder, I have a ton of other loose stuff and a ton of other folders. And then if I open that one inside of it, whoa, I have a ton of other stuff in there. And then there's another folder and whoa, there's more stuff in there. So now I have a ton of stuff and inside of a ton of stuff, all of it hiding inside of the one little folder that said do not remove. So remember I said if on your desktop you have one folder, you could have one thing in there, or you could have 250 things in there. That's what I mean. A folder is made to hold stuff. And I won't know how much stuff it's holding until I open it. And then I start looking and I go, wow, I have folders within folders within folders. When I open Excel, oh, there's even more folders. And when I open exercise files, whoa, there's even more folders. And I go download, oh, there's another folder. So wow, suddenly I have a ton of stuff. So now watch, I closed my folder, open my folder, close my folder. Look down here. Remember I told you guys to turn on the pads, the status bar and the path bar? We haven't explained it yet, but now I'm going to begin to explain the bottommost one, the status bar. When I clicked on documents, it tells me I have 104 items and it tells me how many gigs I have available on the cloud. It's possible that yours says something different. In fact, you probably will say something different. That's okay. This is just my computer and I have 104 items, but watch, I'm not adding things. I'm just opening this folder and suddenly it says I have 163 items. It's just that before this counted as one item. When I open it, now it counts as an extra 4. And when I open one of these guys, now it says I have 109, right? Because it counts anything that's open. Now it says I have 96. So every open folder, now all the individual things count as one thing. So that's why this number is kind of helpful, but not really, because if you have folders, all it tells you is how many folders you have and not what's inside of them. All right. Yes, Lynn?
Can you tell me why my document folder is on the top of your left hand menu under the download, but it's not under the iCloud?
Yeah, so that we're coming to that explanation. By after break, we're going to start on all of the explanation of where things are. So give me another 20 minutes or so. Whenever we come back from break, I'm going to start that. Right now, I'm still at the explaining how things work, the parts of the Finder window, and then I'll begin to say, where are things actually? And that'll be the answer to you. Okay?
Thank you.
So right now we're looking at this bottom one. Bob?
Yeah, my documents finder window doesn't look like yours. Like
Mhm.
at the far right, I have a big open space with the plus mark. I don't know why I have that. big open
Oh, okay.
space.
So yeah. So last class, someone asked about this and I showed it up in the view, we turned on the show preview. And that's this bar that you're talking about. And I don't have it by default turned on, and I'll talk about it later. But if you have it open like that, when you click on something, it'll show you a little
Oh.
preview of that file.
Okay.
Right. So
okay.
say that I have that file and it shows you a little bit of that. That's it. But you would have to have turned on the show preview. Now I'm going to hide preview and I'm going to talk a bit about that one later. For now, the default setting of the as list view is not showing the preview. You might want it. So I might show you later how to turn it on, but you probably last class turned it on and that's why you have it on. But the default setting for people who don't turn it on is that there's no preview there. So for now, I'm teaching defaults. Good question though, and remind me later to show everyone after I go in. I'm going to go into gallery, into column view, and that's when we're going to see it first. All right, so I think by now everyone has answered yes. Let me clean your answers. I see, Jarmoon, that you answered. Thank you. And now I'm going to show you. I'm going to not show you the second one, the path bar yet. First, I'm still showing you around the views. And now we're going to still be in our documents choice. Well, over here at the top, we have, again, if my window is small, I see view as icons, as list, as columns. We're going to switch to as columns. And if view window is big, then we're going to, if window is big, then the third choice, it looks like little lines, is as columns. So we're flipping from list view to columns view. And over here, we could be in applications and it's still in list view. And now our document is in columns view. So we can have different views in each folder that we're looking at, okay? And that's okay. We can then default. Once you learn which one you love most, you can tell the computer to default always to one view or another. Right now in documents view, I have switched to show list as columns view. And over here, you could also find it there and view columns view. All right. So as everyone has switched to columns view, let me show you what columns view is good at. First of all, if you click on any loose thing, it shows you a preview. And a preview is kind of like what Bob was just asking me, only it's there by default in the columns view. When you click on something, it shows you a little tiny view, a little preview. Now, I want to see these names a bit bigger. So this middle line that's here, down at the bottom, sometimes in the middle, depending on your computer, but if not, see down at the bottom of it. So what I'm talking about, I want to expand this like I did before, but I have to go to that little, the bottom of this scroll bar. There's that little two little icons there, and that's where I have to put my mouse. Over here, it doesn't work. I need to go all the way to the bottom. Then I can click and drag and make this bigger or smaller and move up and down the column. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I had the names very truncated, right? And I don't want truncated names. So I'm going to make this bigger so I can see all the names, broccoli, cheese, squash, and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I can do with the columns view. I click on the thing and it shows it to me on the right. But notice that in that case, the information that before I had in columns, I'll have at the end of the preview. It'll say the name, the type of file, which is the other thing, it was called kind. It would say when it was created, when it was modified, when it was open. So giving me a bit of everything. all the stuff that before I was seeing, it's all showing itself here in the preview. File name. I'm gonna click on this one. File name, it's a PDF, when it was created, when it was shown, when it was opened. Okay, so it looks like I created and modified it July 25th of 2023, and I opened it July 27th of 2023. And I haven't used it since. At least I haven't opened it since. Now I'm going to go to, these are sample files that I've created here for a class. And when I click on broccoli cheese, you look at a preview, and there seems to be empty. It's just that it's a letter that we wrote to write a recipe that all it says is broccoli or cheese. I don't know what it said. This is carrot cake. So it actually is working, but it's just that it's an empty piece of paper with a title. But when I have something in it, this is an image. It's a PSD. When I have a license, it just gives me the 2 lines of the license. Now, interestingly enough, when I have a PDF that's many pages, so if this is a PNG, that's 1 page, that's all it is. But when I have this, in this case, is a PDF of many pages, then some arrows appear over there, right there, and I can click and click and preview each one of the pages of my document. And this is a document where I downloaded during the pandemic patterns for how to make masks at home. You know, remember we all had to wear masks for quite a while. So then here I have a PDF that has many pages. It's something I taught in class with. So I can click up and down and go through these pages. So when you have a little video like this one, I can hover over here and it has a little play, and I go play and it starts playing through my video. So this is a pretty active kind of preview. If all I have is an image, it just shows me that image. But if I happen to have something that's sound or video, then it begins to show me, that video. So try to see, these are all individual screenshots. So that's all that is. And then here's when it gets interesting. What if I have a folder? So I'm going to click on this thing that says Star King Newsletter, SK Newsletter. And this time I don't see a preview, but what I see is I see what's inside that folder. So inside the SK Newsletter, I see another folder and 2 links. When I click on that folder, on the far right of that folder, I see what's inside that folder. So this is the main folder that holds everything. This is what's in it. But inside of that one, I have another folder, and there's a lot of stuff in that folder. So this is inside of that, and that is inside of that. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah.
Give me a yes if that makes sense, and if you found a folder, if this kind of looks like that for you. If I click on this one, I see a bunch of stuff that's in this folder, but then I see one folder that if I click, it's got more stuff in it. So if this is working, I'm seeing a lot of yeses, and I also see 2 hands up. So yeah, Alan?
Yes, I have a second column. The columns are separated by vertical bars, and the second column is always there. If I click on a folder in the first column, it shows the contents in the second column. If I click a file in the first column that isn't a folder, it shows a blank second column, but it's still a demarcated second column with vertical bars separate.
Even if there's nothing in it?
Yes, even if there's nothing in it.
All right, well, it's just a different presentation of it. I don't know. Mine just directly goes into the preview. So I'll have you share your screen in a minute, but I do want to show you something first, and then I'll have you share your screen. When I do see a folder and I do see what's inside of it, what if at that point then, instead of going into that folder, if I click on one more, then at the end, it shows me the details of that image. But this photo is inside of that folder, which is inside of that folder. And see how the folders begin to disappear? Because there's only so much space for the column. So now I have to kind of go like that, okay? Because this is the preview of this image, which is in that folder, and that folder is in that folder. But if instead I click on this one, then it goes straight to the preview, because this is the preview of that, which is in that folder, right? So it's like 3 steps versus that needs 4 steps. Okay. Now I could have folders within folders within folders within folders within folders. I could have 150 of these kind of things. For the most part, here I have a folder that has more stuff in the folder. And when I click on that, I have more stuff. When I click on that, I have more stuff. When I click on that, I have more stuff. See how many inside I had in here? The reason I'm showing you this is because now I'm going to explain to you guys the path bar. So I just went into a folder that had another folder that had another folder that had another folder that finally had a file called, I don't know, cable car. And here's the cable car preview. So look at my path bar. The path bar is the location of this file in my computer. So the cable car file is inside of the links folder, which is inside of the Cape Town folder, which is inside of the digital magazine class files folder. Whoops, sorry. Cape Town folder, links folder, cable car. I went up. So cable cars inside of links, inside of Cape Town, inside of magazine, inside of do not remove, inside of documents. And here's the key. All of that is inside of the iCloud Drive. This is the location of that file. This is what we call the path to my file. So if I want to find the cable car file, I need to go down this whole set of folder within folders within folders is like a rabbit hole of until I find the cable car file. But if I want to find it, as long as the folders make sense, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's in my class files. Oh yeah, in the class files, I have all these projects we worked on, and inside of the Cape Town folder file, oh, there's the link. So it's once you know why these folders are there, this makes sense. It's not hard to find. But if none of this makes sense to you, it just looks like, whoa, that thing is so buried so deep, I'll never find it. But not if this folder makes sense to you. Oh, that's the project. And this is where all the links for that project are. Then it's very easy to find, right? So if you make a path that makes sense to you, then that isn't hard to find. It's equivalent to going into a house that you don't know and asking someone saying, hey, can you go bring me my, I don't know, my white handkerchiefs? And you're like, where in the world do you have your white handkerchiefs? But if it's your house, you know that you walk into your room, you open your closets, you go to the top drawer where you have your socks and your handkerchiefs, and there they are. You knew exactly where they were, but the person who walks into your house that doesn't know where they are can start searching in 25 different places before they find it, right? So that would be the address or the path bar to find those handkerchiefs, which ultimately are in the sock drawer, which are in the closet, which are in the bedroom, which are in that person's house, which is in Santa Barbara, which is in California, which is in the United States. That's the equivalent of the path bar to this cable car file. Does that make sense? It's like ultimately the last thing would be on Earth, right? In the house, and that would be the iCloud Drive. It's like where it actually resides. I mean, of course, you could go into like, you know, Earth's planetary system, universe, whatever. Go as far as you want. But that is the way to find those handkerchiefs. That's the address for those handkerchiefs, right? And that is the address or the path bar for this cable car. So that's why it's called Show the Path Bar, because this shows you the path to that file. Now, if I move back and forth and the file was directly on the main folder, then all it says is Cheesecake is in Documents, and Documents is in the iCloud Drive. So it's very simple. If I click here on Adobe and I go to Adobe Media Encoder and I go to 23.0 and I go to logs, or archived workspaces, do I have a thing anywhere? So sometimes folders are empty. There's nothing there, so there's nothing to preview. When there's nothing to preview, notice there's no preview for the folder. So this was a folder that was empty. That was inside of a folder that had folders. That is inside of another folder. So it's like, imagine an empty house that has a closet full of drawers, but they're all empty. They're waiting for you to put stuff in it, right? So the organizational system has been created, right? Ready that when you come in, you're going to start putting socks in this drawer, shirts in this drawer, pants in that drawer, right? So it's the setup, the organization, the skeleton is done, folders within folders for things to go in the right place, right? But then when ultimately there's nothing there, it's because it's waiting for the stuff to go in. All right. I see 3 hands up. So I'm going to start answering questions. I'm going to stop my share for a minute and answer questions. And then when we come back, we'll do a bit more investigating into this, and then we'll start beginning to investigate where your files are, which was, you know, Lynn Sam's question when I said I'll explain that after break. So yes, Alan?
Yes, my files look different. You might want to look at the screen, my screen.
Go ahead, share your screen.
Share. And, okay, I don't know what the. Well,
Just say, yeah, okay, too late. Guys, when you say allow for 1 month, this is new. In a month, when you try to share, you're going to have to go through all the system preferences again. So I would rather just say share versus only for a month. They're trying to make sure that you are giving permission. Every time that you see something that is taking care of your privacy, even if it's, here it is again, another question, it's ideally to protect your privacy. But if you say only allow for 1 month and the class goes for 3 months, then each time the month is over, you need to share your screen again, you'll have to go and give it permission again. So that might be one that you might want to just say always. But anyway, okay, so show me your files. So you click on yours, okay? Then
see, if I click on something else, each time I click, it shows
what?
The card.
Go into one of the
shows
birthday card. Wait, go to the birthday card.
Birthday cards, yeah.
And here you have in a folder, click on one of those folders. And here's your file. Now click on one of those files. Just single click. Yeah, and then there's the preview. So when you finally get to the file, there's the preview of your birthday card. And if you look at the path down at the bottom, there's the path. Your anniversary card is inside of Morna Brian Picks, which is inside of birthday, which is inside of documents, which is inside of Alan, which is inside of users, which is inside of Mac.
So it's just different from let's see, if I go to a folder that
you don't have folders there.
Just it's somehow different.
And the only difference is that you have your computer set up at high contrast in the accessibility in the system settings so that you don't have the colors that I have. You just have it black and white. But the functionality of it is identical.
I see. So it's just, I've set things differently somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. The way you have things, it's set up so that you only use you have it in high contrast. Go to your system settings. System settings. No, up to the Finder. Yeah, system settings. Under accessibility, which is one under general, right there. General is selected. Go one under. No. Yeah, one under general accessibility. Yeah, I think it was under display. Go to the right. We did this last week, but you've always had it this way on display. Yeah. I think here you have display contrast, or one of these you have it set up. Increase contrast. See increase contrast. See how it's turned on? Go and turn that off.
I turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, you look at your window now, it looks just like mine. Move this over a little bit. That looks like mine. Go back into the system settings.
I see. So it's
that
not
looks
that
just
I
like
have,
mine. But you've
Oh.
had this set up for so long, I thought you had it done on purpose. Wait, say done and go back on the left side, go down to accessibility. You went out of it. Yeah, down, there. And go back into display. One up, display.
wait a
No,
minute.
no.
This
Go
way.
to the right. No. In accessibility, inside of accessibility,
Yeah.
go to the right. Then there's a display in there. It's two different displays. This is the one that you've always had the increased contrast turned on. Go see where it says increased contrast, two up, two up,
yeah.
up, one more up, that one. No, one, yeah,
This way.
one up, right. It's turned off right now. That one, yeah.
Let's turn on.
So turn it on. And that on the left is how you've had yours for many years as when
Oh,
you, that's how it's been looked every time you share
Yeah.
it looks like that. And when you turn it off,
Okay.
click that off. Just
Yeah.
click on your mouse. No, one up, that one.
Okay.
Turn it off, click on it. That is what mine
Yeah.
looks like.
Okay.
So it's just a visual thing, but you've had it the other way for years. If you change it now, things might begin to appear strange to you. I don't know. Your
Yeah,
choice,
I,
but that's.
I just upgraded yesterday to the latest
Yeah,
OS,
but you know
it's-
what, guys, these kind of choices, when you upgrade, I want to, wait, go back. Did you upgrade to Sequoia perchance? No.
Go
What
back
do you,
where?
what did you upgrade to? Go back to, you just said you upgraded. Go to the Apple and show me. I want to see what you upgraded to about this Mac.
I
Sequoia, you
upgraded
went up to Sequoia. Okay. So you went
yes.
up to Sequoia. There's going to be things on yours that are going to be different that I don't have Sequoia yet, but it's not visually so different. It's just in function. There's things that are different. All right. So this is a
Okay.
choice that I want to tell everyone, when you upgrade, these things are grandfathered in. It's not like his computer goes back to a blank when he has to set up the thing. If he had increased contrast turned on for the last few years, when you
Oh, okay.
upgrade, that gets grandfathered in. So his increased contrast stays. Okay. So when you guys upgrade, your settings that
Oh,
you've
I see.
chosen stay. It's not like it goes back to blank. Okay. If you had
Yes.
things set up to show you in dark mode or in light mode or in whatever mode, that doesn't change. That stays. All right.
Oh,
And now it's up to
thank
you if
you.
you want to keep it on or off, but that's why it's showing up differently. All right.
Okay. Thank
You're welcome. A couple more questions and then I'm going to give everyone a break. Yes, Susan?
Oh God, no. I think yeah. So let me take up my headphones here. In the, like I have house remodel in my file, and then the next column, I have all these photos. So, and then the third column, there's nothing, but so how do I want to compress all those photos into another file or just leave them open? What is the difference between, like, you have like 6 columns, like going from file to file to file to file?
So, that is the gist of our entire 3 weeks of class, how to organize our stuff and when to put them where. Okay. So the answer to you is hang in and we're going to get to that. Right now we're discovering how things are set up, where they are, and then we're going to go, okay, now let's begin to create a structure that makes sense for your files and where do those things have to be, right? And so I'm going to teach you how to do that and where to put things and where not to do things. So some things might need to be in folders, sometimes in folders within folders, some might need to be at the top. That's exactly what this whole class is all about. So you're in the right place. That question was great, but I can't quickly answer it. We need to go through the whole steps, okay?
Okay, I just one more question. Do you save space on your, does it save space by putting them all, like I have 15
it doesn't save space to organize them. It just makes it easier to find them or to have them in the right place. But you will discover a bunch of stuff that you don't need and you get rid of it. That's what's going to save space. But if you do need it, instead of not knowing where to find it, you will have it set up in such a way that you will know where to find it. If you don't want to get rid of it, it'll be organized.
Yeah, okay.
But the organizing doesn't save space. It's like shuffling things around in your apartment, it
Yeah.
doesn't save space. It just makes the place tidy. That's all.
Right. Okay, thanks.
All right, yeah. But a lot of times when we tidy up, don't we end up tossing a bunch of stuff? You know, so that's
Mhm.
probably what'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob?
I'll try to be quick. This sounds like
Mhm.
wishful thinking, but so I set up the Finder on this computer, but I also have another computer at a different location that I'm signed into. Now, if I make changes on this one, does it automatically change my other computer that's also signed in to my?
Good point. Good point. Good question. If you're like, I have two computers that I share here in class always. They are signed into the same Adobe ID. So if my stuff is in the cloud, and that's getting a bit advanced for some people who don't understand the answer to this yet. So I'm going to give you a quick answer, but everyone else just hang into this to the answer to this one, because if you don't understand it, you will in a little bit. If your documents and folders are in the cloud and your other computer is signed up to the same ID, then they and the other computer, they will be now organized the same way as you organized them here. If instead they are in your documents folder is in your hard drive, then each computer has its own stuff, even if you're in the same ID. So if that was a good enough answer, good. And if not, hang in there and I'll demonstrate the whole two computer things when we come back. Okay.
Thank you. Great.
You're welcome. All right. Donna, is she gone? I think she's gone. Okay. So you guys,
Here.
oh, there you are. Okay. So, you mentioned you won't come back after break. Let me just see you guys if you go to the chat, you'll see that Donna said, I won't be coming back after break. I really appreciate when you guys tell me that, because then I'm not sitting there going, hello, where are people? So like you have an appointment, you have something to do. That said, you're welcome to write to me directly, that kind of stuff, like my head hurts or the plumber is coming. I mean, you can write to the whole group, but you can also, when you go to the chat, you can choose write to Diana Musacchio or write to everyone, and you can just write to me or to everyone. Sometimes there's questions like, I can't see my folders on whatever. That's a class question. Everyone should understand, because then I'm going to answer the group. But I don't need to tell anyone that you happen to have a headache. So that would be something you can write to me. Just pointing that out only because like above you can't see it, but someone else sent me a direct message to me saying that, yeah, something about plumbing or whatever. That's fine. You don't need to tell the whole class about that. But then when you ask things like, when I adjust my Finder on one computer, does it automatically, which was Bob's question, then that goes to everyone. Okay. And then right above that, Alan said, do you have a general outline of the main topics you're likely to cover in the course? And basically file management. File management is the topic of the entire Mac Level 1, which covers everything from where, how come, how to organize, how to get rid of old stuff, how to add new stuff, put things in the right place, upgrade, don't upgrade, dump, empty your trash, optimize, all of the above. So that's the whole topic of Mac Level 1. Okay. All right, guys, let's take a break, and it's 2:58. So 3 would be 3:15. So 2:58 would be 3:13. I'll see you guys in 15 minutes at 3:13 p.m. Don't forget to use your Siri to remind you in 12 minutes so that you'll be back here in 15. So you'll be back at 3:13 p.m. See you guys in 15 minutes. Yikes. Hi, I'm here. Sorry. Things got crazy during the short break. I've got a remodel going on, and during break I go check, and suddenly there's things that aren't working and I have to be like, just go there. Hey, sorry. Okay. Control, change computer glasses. And here we are. Okay. Welcome back, welcome back. How did 15 minutes go by so fast? I didn't even feel them. At first I thought, did I make a mistake? I just didn't say 15. No. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my Finder window again. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this Finder window. A lot of the times when this class starts, I launch into getting rid of stuff. And then I decided, and other times I first explain where things are. You know, I always try to see which one works better. And I think that when I just begin to say, this is what you don't need, this is what you need, the clear understanding of where things are is missing. So that's why I'm taking a bit more time to explain the functioning of all of this, so that then we can have a better understanding of how to organize. So who was it? I think Susan, who asked at the end of last class, it said, you know, how would I know what to make folders or things like that? We're going to get to that first. I want us to understand a couple more things. First of all, as much as I showed you that in the columns view, it's easy to see what's inside of things. So this is easy to look inside of that and then look inside of that. And so the path is kind of easy to understand that this is inside of there and this is inside of there. But when you look at the same thing, so now let's head over to downloads. Everyone click on the word downloads on the left. Now, this is where earlier on, and let me move this in a bit. Earlier on, Alan said, oh, I want to see how you saw those previous 40 days or whatever. So this is as list. So depending on how we're viewing it, view it as list again. But in this case, for the downloads, I have a special organization going on here. Just watch. In documents, all I cared about was the name and where they were filed. So they're alphabetically ordered, including the folder is a folder called D. So it's between C, A, B, C, D, H, I, right? So folders or files, it didn't matter. They all got organized by name. If I had clicked on organized by kind, and I'm clicking over here in kind, then I would have had all my folders at the top, and then it starts to show me the files, right? So that said, it's still, when I go to dates, it's all the dates, no matter what one after the other. Okay, I'm going to go back to name. I've explained this a few times. Now watch, downloads is also in view as list for me. So if yours isn't, if you have it in another way, please come back to view as list. But I also have it in today, previous 30 days, August, July. Before I show you how to do that, inside of today, it's still an alphabetical order, C to S, or numbers to S, or, it still is holding on to the whole alphabetical order inside of each portion. I could still in here ask it to organize by kind inside of the portion. So now I have my PNGs next to my JPEGs, next to my Photoshops, right? Instead of by alphabetical order. But they still stick to today, previous 30 days. So this is like a sub organizing inside of the organizing. Now, why does this one matter to me in downloads and not in documents? Let me explain. In documents, this is because I've decided these things are so important. This is where all my stuff has to be. You'll find out later that we're going to end up putting here anything that's anywhere on your computer will end up here. And you will decide to organize it by function. Like, is this a recipe? Is this a financial budgeting file? Is this a class file? So that's how we will organize our documents to be able to find them later. Because 2 years from now, what does it matter if you downloaded it in June or in August or in February? You won't care, but you will know that it's a class file for your Mac file versus if it's a class file for your painting file. So that's why it makes more sense to organize your documents that you will forever keep by category, so to say, that you're going to create your own. Versus downloads. So what's downloads? Downloads is stuff that you bring in that you didn't create. It's stuff that you brought in that was sent to you on an email, sent to you on a text, sent to you, not sent to you, downloaded by you from the internet. Sometimes like they say, download this form, fill it out and send it back. Like when you register for a class, anything that comes from the internet, any article, stuff that you wanted to read, anything that you've downloaded from the internet, it all ends up here in the downloads folder. Okay. This is the magical gathering place for downloads. So imagine that I just went to Costco and I bought everything from butter to a shed for my garden and plants, a fake plant for my living room to a pair of shoes, right? Like you can go to that kind of store or Target, you can buy a bit of everything, right? So if I come into my house, imagine if I walk into my house and I open my door and I just dump all that stuff at the door entrance. That's the downloads folder. It all just dumps in my house. And that's where it stays until I organize it, until I say, well, this should go into the kitchen. It's butter, into the refrigerator drawer of my refrigerator, which is in the kitchen, which is in the back of the house, right? That would be the path. And this should go into the garden, into the shed, into the right box. And this should go into my closet, into the place where I put my shoes. And you organize it. That's what the downloads is. It's the entrance of your house. You dump everything that comes in. And some of the things that come in, you look at them twice and you go, oh, I don't really need this. Or I brought this to give it to someone else. Or I need it temporarily. And then I don't need it anymore. So if it came into your computer today, you probably wanted it today, right? Because you just downloaded it. So there's a reason you need it. If it's a photo someone sent you or a form that you need to fill in. Once you've finished with it, if it's the form that you don't need anymore because you've sent it off, then you can get rid of it, right? You can go, oh, I don't need it anymore. And you can send it to the trash. But then if you brought in something really important, like a new pair of shoes, you would say, oh, this needs to go into my documents folder, right? Because I'm going to put it inside of the closet or whatever. In this case, I'm going to put this one inside of the whatever folder, right? So you'll take it and you'll drop it into the right place. Versus this one, you're going to go, oh yeah, this one I used and I don't need anymore. So you're going to do a right click and you're going to move it to the trash. So you're going to deal with the stuff that you just brought into the house. You're going to look at this one and you're going to go, I don't know what it is. Let me check. So you're going to select it and hit your space bar and it gives you a preview. Space bar. And you go, oh, I don't need that. Okay, got it. Right click and I've already used it versus you click on this one and you go, oh yeah, that's really important. I'm going to move it to my documents folder. So you're going to begin to organize. There's only 2 things you need to do with downloads. Throw it away or move it to the right place. There's only a couple things that stay in downloads. Like for example, a form you need to fill in, but that then you don't need to keep. But if that's a form that you fill in that you do need to keep, like I just renewed my passports. I filled in a PDF form. I sent it off in the mail, but just in case I'm keeping the copy. So it doesn't stay in my downloads. I move it into my documents folder, but where in my documents folder? Well, I'll have a folder where I have all of my traveling information or all my documents, and then there I'll have the passport renewal material. Does that make sense? Instead of having it mixed up with everything else. So what I'm doing is I'm cleaning up my downloads. Now, in order to see it as today, previous, August, July, I have to help me organize, I'll go over here to where it says group. I'm going to click on that. And I have this organized by date added. So if you have it in none, and here's this is my downloads organized by alphabetical order, right? So at the very top, I have numbers, and then A, then B, then C. If I download something today that happens to be called My Little Pony, I would have to know to go all the way to the M and find the M and find My Little Pony. But how many times do you know the name of the files that you download? Because I never do. When you download a file, the names is whatever the person who sent you the file gave it. So they might have called it XYZ. They might have called it nothing, a number like this. They might have called it whatever they called it, and you wouldn't know how to find it in your downloads. Does that make sense? So in the downloads, I want to always organize it by date added. So I went up here, not in the views. I'm looking at it by view, but then on the group, I'm going by date added. And now I can see the stuff that I downloaded today, previous 30 days, August, July. And this is kind of cool because if I begin to see things that were downloaded, you know, a year ago, 2023, it's probably stuff that I either don't need anymore or I just didn't organize it. But if I downloaded it in 23, it shouldn't be here anymore. Does that make sense? If I've decided to keep it in my computer, it should already be in its appropriate folder, or it should be gone. So when you scroll down, some of you might have things downloaded, and look down here. Mine says that I have 158 things in my downloads. One of them is selected and says 1 of 158 selected. I have 158, although it's not even counting that I have some folders. So like this is a folder, and who knows how many things I have in there. So if I double click on it, I discover I have 27 in there, right? So I have a lot of different things in here that I need to handle. And I recommend starting by at the very bottom and looking at this and going, oh my, these are from 2023. You might have stuff from 2021, from 2017. I mean, you might have 2,000 items in here. You might have 2 items in there. I don't know. So whatever you have in your downloads, this is the first thing we're going to look at to organize our computer, because it's where the junk comes in, right? It's like I drop everything in, I leave it there, and then I forget about it, and I can never find it again, or I don't need it anymore, or I've already used it up. This is where the mess happens. And yes, we also need to then organize the documents, because I just dumped in there 2 things that I needed, and this is a mess, right? So we're going to get to that second. First, we're going to organize the downloads. So everyone, click on your downloads, read how many items you have, and then write in the chat for me, or to everyone. I'm going to say that I have 158 items in my downloads. You don't need to write the whole items in my downloads. You can just write 158 or 203 or 45 or whatever number you have. So everyone, guys, go to your downloads folder. I don't even care, right, when or when not. I just want to see what you have in your downloads folder. Granted that I always need to keep some old ones because I always need to do this demo. And this computer I got in 2023. So that's the oldest I go. But if you got your computer even older, you probably have any older ones. So I make a point, because I teach this class, to never really get rid of all my downloads. But my goal for you is to be like Bob, whose answer was 0. You see in the chat, it says 0. Or Mason that says 3. That ideally would be the fact that that means that maybe it's once a day, maybe it's once a week. You just clean up your downloads. Or maybe you download something, and when you have so much stuff, you just go, oh, this is too complicated. So you never organize it. Or one day you sit down and you organize it all and you're left with zero. And then it's easy to see every day when you do download something, it's right there. You know exactly where it is. And so you choose it, you get rid of it. Yeah, as I said, yesterday I downloaded a document, a PDF from the internet that I had to fill out to put in the mail to renew my passport. Well, I downloaded it. It went into my downloads folder. I filled it in. I printed it. I put it in the mail and I sent it so that I'm left with that document. Do I need it? Yeah, since it's my passport renewal, I decided I'm kind of a bit of a pack rat. I'm going to keep it. So I put it in my documents folder, not loose, but I put it in a folder that I have for travel documents, right? I have all the renewals of my whole family in there. I could have dumped it in the documents and let it sit there amongst hundreds of other files. And then when I went to look for it, I'll be, what did I call it? What was it called? Because guess what? It came in with a name from the passport agency or whatever these places, the official State Department passport. I don't know what they named it. I would have never found it. So I added the name, I changed the name, and I said, my passport renewal, and I put it in the right place. And now it's much easier to find. A, because I gave it a name that makes sense, and B, because I put it in a place that makes sense. Versus I didn't leave it with the generic name that it came with and mixed amongst 2,000 things. Because again, how will I never know then to find it? Does that make sense? In the downloads, I can find it only because I told my downloads to organize by day, and I can go over here, and no matter what the name is weird, I'll be able to find through the 3 things I downloaded in one day. One of them will be the right thing, right? So this is a good way to find the stuff that you just downloaded versus having no organization and then having to guess which of all these miscellaneous file names that I downloaded is the one of what I want. So this is the only place that I appreciate subdividing into date added. I don't want that in anything else personally. It's up to you, but I don't want that in anything else. I do definitely want that in my downloads. All right, Barbara.
Is there a way? I have all kinds of folders and subfolders in my documents. I mean, I have to scroll down just to go through the folders.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get to that.
In my
Hold on.
downloads, like I've got 5 things that I want to move into my photography folder. Is there a way to open documents up and have it stay open and look at your downloads so you can just drag it across?
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a few ways. The thing that I prefer to do when I do that, and let me explain everyone what she's saying. Say that you download this photo and you want to put it in your documents, but not just anywhere. Because if I grab this thing and I just put it in my documents, guess what? When I go to my documents, it's there amongst bazillions of other screenshots. That was a screenshot that I just put in there, okay? Here it was a screenshot. So unless I remember which one it is, I wouldn't know. And many times photos, which is she's mentioning, come in with just like name numbers like that. That would be a photo. And when I go into Des documents, how do I find it? So what the first thing we're going to do, and we're going to spend some time today, and I'm going to share my entire screen here today, right now. If you have no organization in your computer yet, then sure, just throw it in your documents. That's good enough, okay? Because you still have to organize, and we're going to work next week. We're going to spend a lot of time organizing our documents folder, but today we're organizing our downloads folder. So all I care about today is to know what to keep, get rid of what we don't want to keep. That's the 2 things that we need to do. So to your question, Barbara, when I have an organized documents folder, and quite a few of you guys do, this is a good time to open a new Finder window, right? Then you have 2 Finder windows. And this is where you can use the whole split screen if you want. And then I go in my other Finder window, I am in Documents.
Right.
So then I go over here and I go, this one I want to keep. Where does it go? this one I want to get rid of, right? So say that I want to keep this one, Food Pantry at the Wake Campus, because it's a class file. Then I can just not just drag it into documents, but I can go over here and put it in the folder that says class files. Does that, so suppose this were to say class files, I'll drop it straight in there. So it's already in the right place. Or if this were open and that's the place I need to set it at, this is an example, then I would grab it there and I would put it there, already organized in the place it needs to go. Does that make sense? But to do that, you need to have, a structure here. And for some of you guys who already have a structure, that's easy. But for some of you who still have a mess in here, we need to create that structure. Okay, so partly today we're going to be working on emptying out the downloads, but also putting things in here in a way that helps us find our structure. Imagine, here's the example. Imagine I come into I buy a new house and I have to put things in my bedroom, and remember, have some bedrooms don't have closets and you have to put in a wardrobe or something. So here I come in from my old house with all my clothes, and where are they going to go? They're going to end up in some box or in some table or on top of the bed until I create a structure. Does that make sense? Once I create the structure, I put in the wardrobe, then I can start putting t-shirts in the drawer, socks in another drawer, shirt in the hanger, right? So you need to create that structure, but at least you didn't leave it outside in the garden. So the downloads is outside in the garden. You brought it to the new house. And then this is, okay, I don't have a structure here yet, but at least I'm going to put it inside the house. So you grab them and you put them just loose in the documents folder. Phew, they're in the house. They're in my bedroom. Now I need to go and create the structure. Or B, I first create the structure and then I move in. It's either way. Does that make sense?
When you drag 4 things across like you did, do they stay together?
Alphabetically, yes or not, because if what I bring in is something that's a 2, an I, and an S, then when I put them in here, they're going to go alphabetically. The 2 is going to go up there, the I over here, the L over here, and the
Thank
S
you.
down there. Does that make sense?
Yes,
They will
gotcha.
organize themselves here by alphabetical order, unless you put them in a folder because they're supposed to be already together, and then you put them in that folder together. So that's how that goes. So, couple more. Yes, Lynn?
I couldn't open the second Finder window.
So when you open a Finder window, right?
Yes.
And you want to open another one, you go up here to File, New Finder Window, and then you end up with 2 windows.
I see. Got it.
Now, for those of you who took the class the other day, the Intro to the Mac class, I taught you one more thing, and I don't want to confuse things, so this is just extra. I taught you guys how to use a new tab. So you can plus sign to make a new tab inside of a window. And this is only if you took the other class and you're a bit more comfortable, like Bob. A few of you guys can get this, but not everyone, so don't worry. But I could also have my documents folder there, my downloads here, and I can go from here to documents there, or I can go from here to documents there. But ideally, I think it's easier, and this is just for people who wanted to know about the second tab. I think it's easier to have 2 things, and in this room is my entrance, the downloads. It's the threshold of my house, and this here in the documents is my files, my structure, my house, and down here I have a folder for my closet, right? And so when I open it, I go, oh, here's the closet and here's the drawers, and this belongs in the drawer. So I'm going to go grab it and I'm going to just put it straight in the drawer right there instead of dropping it just in the general closet. Okay. So that means I already have some kind of organization, and that makes sense versus if I drop it just in the download, in the documents, it's going to go to some generic spot by alphabetical order. Does that make sense? So both are good. Right now, if you don't have a structure here in documents yet, don't worry, we'll get to it. We're also going to go find out where your stuff is. And Donna had to leave, but she's the one who had said that she had nothing in her documents, but she had a folder called documents. So Donna, if you're watching the recording, we're going to have to deal with that next week. I need to, the difference between that documents and a folder in here called documents, which you shouldn't have two things called documents. Okay. So this should be always a different name than that one. The documents is like a foundational file folder room in your computer that Mac gave you. And that's where things should be. The desktop, if I click and choose the desktop over here, this is everything that's on my desktop. Let me close this for a minute. This Finder window, selecting my desktop, all this stuff is this stuff. It's not a different place. This is how I look into my computer. I don't have an easy way to look into my applications unless I use the Finder window. Same with the downloads, same with the documents. But the only one that's easy to see is the desktop, because if I look over here, I see my desktop. But see here, I have a thing called family files. It's a folder. Look, family files. Let me move this over so you can see this a bit better. Family files, and that's the folder, and that's the folder, right? Over here, I have something called Better Snap Tool Split Screen, and here it is, Better Snap, make it bigger, Better Snap Tool Split. See how it's the same exact place? This that's here is what I'm seeing when I see the desktop. So here I have something called Dan Gruen Schmidt. If I go to the D, there it is, Dan Gruen Schmidt. Okay, it's just a different way of seeing the same thing. So I can organize this by saying, oh, this is important. It's going to go, watch what's going to happen. That's this file. I'm going to say, I don't want it here. I want it in the documents. So I'm going to move it to the documents. It's not in my desktop anymore there. It's not in my desktop anymore here. I have taken it out of my desktop. Okay. Now I'm going to say that I want this one called default mail address. I go to the D, there it is, default email address from contacts. I put it in documents. It disappeared from my desktop. Does that make sense, you guys? What's in here and in here is the same thing. All right, so we're going to start by cleaning out our downloads and our desktop. So slowly, because I know there's going to be more resistance to the desktop. We're going to explain why and what, because people like the stuff on their desktop, but no one really cares about what's in their downloads. They didn't even know it was there most of the time. So we're going to start by finding out what these files are. There's going to be a lot of files that you don't understand what they are and you don't know what to do with, right? So you're going to have to ask me, what's a WAV, for example? What's a PNG? What's a JPEG? What's a, you know, you'll be asking me this stuff, or you will look at them yourself. So remember, you select the file, you hit the space bar and you go, oh, that's the photo of yada, yada, yada. Okay, yeah, no, I don't want it. Or yeah, I do want it. So I'm hitting the space bar and I'm hitting the space bar. Now, this is, for me, the easiest thing, to hit the space bar, to see it, and hit the space bar. Notice that I could click on this one and hit the space bar and hit the space bar. Or I can hit the space bar one time, and then I can watch. I'm going to move this over a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I hit the space bar to see that it's that, right? And then with my arrow keys on my keyboard, right? Just on my keyboard, I'm not using my mouse anymore. Go to my keyboard and I go down with my arrow and see how it went down to show me the next one. And then I go down and it's showing me it's that one. Then I go down and it's, I'm not touching my mouse or anything. I'm going to the keyboard in the bottom right has arrows. I'm going up, 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 down, 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 down. Do you see that? So I can see little tiny previews of everything. I'm just going really fast because I'm just going up, 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 up. And I can go, I do want, I don't want, I do want, I don't want. Sometimes it's so big that it fills my whole screen like this and others not. If you like that, good. If you don't like that, plan B is to have that preview that Bob asked for a bit earlier. I prefer the spacebar But you might want to go up to view and say show preview. And then the preview is right there. So then you go prop, enabled, pantry, and you have a little preview there of what it is, which is really comfy. I'm more accustomed to the one, but there you go. Now you have an idea of what it is, and you go, oh, that flower, sure. Or, no, I don't even remember that flower. Why do I have a photo of that flower? Oh, someone must have sent it to me. Great, it's cute, but I don't need it. Boom, dump it. Or, oh, yeah, no, this is something I really need. So if you need it, put it in the documents folder. All right. Now, I'm going to ask you guys. I see over here that someone said a lot as far as downloads folders. Do you not have this path, the status bar turned on? Because if you said a lot, that means you might not be able to see the number. See how down here we can see that it says 158. If I look at my documents, it tells me that I have 112. If I look at my desktop, it tells me I have 62. Anita, do you have that on or not? Yes, okay. So then you should be able to say a number, which is fine if you didn't want to say it. I just want to make sure that you actually had the status bar. And trust me, I've seen 10,000, 20,000. There's nothing that'll scare me. You might have been downloading stuff since the day you bought your computer in 2014 and never emptied out your downloads. And guess what? They'll still be in your downloads. Okay. So meaning I don't care if you have 0, 25 or 2005. I just want to point out that it's a big grab bag of stuff and it needs to be organized, and it's not the place to keep things. Now, why it's not the place to keep things is there's a reason that you cannot keep them, or it's just a choice. Because who's to say that some people have organized garages and some people have messy garages? Is someone right or wrong? Well, you just are who you are. Some people are pretty happy having a disorganized garage, and some people are like, oh my God, I got to organize my garage every day. Well, that's up to you. I'm not saying you have to organize your downloads, but what I am saying is that if you have something important in your downloads that you actually need, it's much harder to find it if the file names that it comes with is generic and you don't know where it landed. So at the very least, you want to have it set by group by date added, so that at least you can know that it's within the last week. You know that it'll be here and not way down there. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
ideally, we're going to head down here and we're going to begin to get rid of all these old ones. Not get rid of. Look at it and go, oh, that's that wonderful family thing. I never knew where it was. Good, let me keep it. Versus, no, God, this is, look, it's a flyer for a class that happened in 2014. Look at the date. January, 4 sessions, January 2027. Who cares? That's 10 years old flyer. Is there any reason I want to keep this flyer anymore? Probably not, especially because in the downloads is where you get invitations. And who would care about an invitation that happened 25 years ago? Well, guess what? Not 25, let's not exaggerate. You don't download things since 25 years ago. Say that you got an invitation literally 8 years ago, and it's the invitation to your daughter's wedding, and they sent it by email. Now people do that. Well, you might want to keep that one, even if it's 10 years old, because, you know, it's the invitation, the little beautiful, my niece got married a few years ago, and they did, they sent things by email. I know it's like unconscionable. In the past, they wouldn't have done that, but now they do. Well, I kept that email because it's the invitation to my niece's wedding, but I wouldn't keep the invitation to the event that happened last week that I've already gone to or didn't, and I don't want to go anymore. So that would go away, and that will probably be in my downloads folder. Okay. More questions. Lynn.
There are 3 pictures in my download folder. I grab them, put them into my folder, in the folder of imports, and it didn't go away. It stayed in the download.
Yeah, so photos, we're going to talk about that more at length next week, but photos are, you took my photos class, right, Lynn?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So when I say my photos class, for those of you who aren't aware, there's a class that I just deal with the Photos app on your phones, on your computers, on the camera and Photos app on your Mac. And the Photos is the name of the Photos app. So so say that you come in your downloads across photos. So it's very typical. Someone sent you a photo. Someone sent you a great photo. My mom sends me photos of flowers all the time. So I see this photo. If it's a flower that she sent me that she just wanted to share with me because she just thought it was cute from the internet, I go, oh, well, thanks for sharing. I look at it, I enjoy it, and then I do a right click, move to trash. I've done it. I've seen it. I don't even download it, in fact. But if instead it's a photo that I just took at the tip of a mountain on the hike that I just made, well, I want to keep it. Does that make sense? So I will keep it. And there's two ways to keep it. One, which is what Lynn just said, is she puts it in the Photos app. But if you do that, share my entire screen. If I'm going to put this in the Photos app, and this is my Photos app, okay? So we're going to repeat this. We're going to talk about this in the future too. So if today you don't get it, don't worry. We're going to keep talking about the Photos app. If I grab this photo and I drag it like that into the Photos app, which is what Lynn said she did, and let go, it goes into your Photos app. And if I look over here at imports, I just imported it. But what she mentioned is that when she goes back in here, she still sees it. And it's true. When you put something in the Photos app, now you have basically duplicated it. So if you put it in the Photos app and you're aware that you did it, you go immediately back to this one, right click and delete. Because you don't want it twice. It's still there. Now it's there. Okay. You don't want to keep it twice. I'm going to undo that because I want to keep it here. I keep using these old ones. I want to keep having some of these old ones, and I don't want to keep using from those because I want to have examples of from before. But now you want to get rid of any photo that you've already put in the Photos app. But what if this is not a photo from the photo that goes into the Photos app? An example would be if I get a photo from work. If I have photos that I need to put into a brochure that I'm making for a client, well, I'm not going to put it in my Photos app because that's my personal photo. I'm just going to put in a folder that it's my client work and that it's the folder where the brochure photo, the photos that are going to be in the brochure. So that will go into my documents folder. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So then I put it in my documents folder. When you do that, it also leaves the downloads. But if you put it in your Photos app because you're choosing to keep it, because those are photos you want in your photos to show, to keep, to view, to enjoy, then you need to go back and delete it because you duplicate it if you do that process. Okay.
Okay.
Great question. Thank you. All right. Before I keep answering questions, Susan, listen, I'm looking at the time. We have 15 more minutes. You guys have a homework and we're going to start working on it now. And the homework I want by next Monday, I want, and listen well, I'm going to write it in the chat. I'm going to stop my share. And this is hopefully people who are not here anymore are seeing this. You have homework, empty your downloads folder. Now, here's the thing. When I say empty it, that's the homework, empty it. But put things you don't want in the trash. And what you do is you right click / move to trash. That would be what you do. Hold on. Things you do want. Hold on, someone drop, needed someone in. Things that you do want, you drag to the documents folder. If you have organization going already, put it in that organization, but we're not going to create our own organization until Monday, next class. And then things that you don't know what to do with, you leave in the downloads folder and you ask me about them on Monday. Okay? Because there's going to always be a file that you go, I have no idea what this is. Well, good. Leave it in the downloads folder. Don't open them. Don't open strange files. Strange.
Dangerous.
And I edit that. Don't open strange files. Because you don't know if they're good, bad, dangerous, or not. And we're going to begin to parse that out as we begin to understand the extensions. So write down the extensions of mystery files. The extensions are the last 3 letters of a file name after the dot. Okay, so you guys, if you know how to do screenshots, you should be doing screenshots of all of this homework. In between, Anita and Julie wrote something, well, Julie just to me, but from the top to the bottom, I wrote homework. Empty your downloads folder, put things you don't want in the trash, things you do want, move to the documents folder, and then what you don't know what to do with it, leave them and ask me about them on Monday. And then I said, write down, leave on, I've hit a typo there, I'm correcting. And then what you write the extension. So what does the extension name mean? Hold on. This is the extension. The dot, I said 3 letters, but sometimes it's 4, like JPEG, it's JPEG, that's 4 dot JPEG or dot PNG or dot PDF or dot WAV dot PSD. That is the extension. So to the question that Anita said, did you say to delete the PKG? What she means is dot PKG. And I haven't talked about it yet in this class, but she remembers from another class that I've said, yes, delete the PKGs. But here I have a dot DMG, dot MP3. So if you don't know what these things are, and how would you know? You hit the space bar and you watch the preview. So this is important. The preview is not dangerous. Hitting the space bar and looking at a preview is not opening it. That won't kill your computer. It's a preview, okay? This is music preview. You guys can't hear it because it's in my headsets, but these are little music songs. This is a file. Preview it. If you double click and open it, it opens up. And if that was a malicious file that got inserted as spam, it as a virus, it can ruin your computer. So don't open them. Open them would be double clicking. Do not open them. Just look at this one with a space bar and go, no matter what, I can't tell what it is. That's what you'll write down and leave in the downloads folder. So some of you have to put away 200 things or 13 things or 1,800 things. Now, those of you who had 1,800 things, you'll probably have more work to do between here and Monday, and you might not be able to finish it. But get going. I'd like to see a smaller number, okay? Mainly because ultimately, if it's really old, it's probably something you don't need. It's going to be much easier for you to look at it and go, why? What's this here for? Boom, dump. Or, wow, that's one of my favorite photos ever of my kid. What's it doing there? Boom, let me put it in the Photos app. Like, of course, duh. Right? There's no question. It'll be one or the other. If I don't want it, right click, move to trash. If I want it, so this I don't want, this one here, make sure it's selected. I don't want it, move to trash. Boom, it's gone. If I want it, put it in the documents folder. If you're still not organized in the document folder, if you are organized in that documents folder, then open to Windows and put it in the right folder. but it's okay not to have organized folders. That we're going to do next week. If you have only 3 things in your document, in your downloads, then you move on to doing that with your desktop. Okay. But that is, I'm not gonna ask for that as a homework. I do ask for the downloads. All right. Questions. Susan. Susan? Susan McIntyre? I don't know if you're looking, if you're talking, thinking that I'm hearing you.
No, there
Unmute
you
yourself.
go.
There you go. All right.
there you go.
Yeah.
I lost your screen. There we are.
All right. What's the question?
There we go. Yeah, I think I was ahead of I was looking at the, up in the file, the new Finder, excuse me, new smart folder, new folder. So I don't need to deal with that right now, right?
No, we're gonna create our folders next week.
Next week, okay, all right. I thought I would
Mhm.
kind of get ahead of things, but I guess I don't need to.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
mean,
taking
from-
it. Yep, I'm, if you know how to do them already, go for it and then ask me about those next week, but we're not doing them today yet.
Okay,
Okay.
and I just,
Robin-
I have one more little question. I have in the downloads, I have a file that has an explanation point after it. And I'm just curious, that's kind of bizarre, but I guess
as
I
as
click on.
after the .doc or in the name?
No, just, it's a blue file folder and there's just an explanation point.
Go ahead and share your screen so I can see what you're talking about, because I don't recognize what you might be talking about.
Okay.
And then the whole thing.
It's a folder. It's possible that it was been named with an exclamation mark, or that somebody was trying to write a whole name on it and ended up leaving the name out and just putting an exclamation point there. Hold on. I need to, 1 second, make this a bit bigger. I see that. Oh, you're right. It's just, is that an exclamation point oh yeah. So, go ahead and, double click on it because we can see what's in it without opening it. And no, that's doing the space bar, which is fine.
Yeah.
To double click on a folder is to see what's inside. Okay. So double click. There's a PNG and a 3PNG. Now do the click and space bar.
Oh, that's it.
Okay. And then another thing underneath. So it wasn't named right, or maybe it was, doesn't seem to be much in that one, but you're seeing it. So now go back out, and if you delete, that is deleting one file. If you delete the folder, it deletes the folder plus the files, right? So,
Okay.
but now the folder's out there. And if you did want it and it was just badly named, then you just right click and rename it. But it was the, yeah, so if you delete the folder, it'll delete together with everything that's in there. So you can do a right click and delete or move to trash the whole folder. You did a space bar now. So right click, if your idea was to trash it, right click and move to trash. Right click. Oh, you double clicked again. So go back out.
Yeah.
Okay, now right click on it. And now move to trash. One down. Yep, there you go. And the same with that. It was named that way. Someone named it that way, and that's all it is. And it might have come in that way named by someone, or you might have created that, but whatever it is, you look what's inside and you go, nope, yep, want it or don't want it.
Oh, okay.
No,
thank
but
you.
that's a good question, because sometimes that could have been indicative of something strange, right? So yeah. Robin?
Yes, I don't see a downloads folder in my sidebar. Does that just
Okay.
mean that I don't have anything in that?
No,
folder?
not at all. It just means that you're not seeing it. Share your screen. I'll show you how to put it there. It just
I'm
means
not-
that it just means that it was taken out of your sidebar, but the
Okay,
downloads folder
where
is still there.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to share it.
All right, so go down to your share button. Right next to where you raise your hand and all that, you should see a green button with an arrow that's black.
There it is.
Click on
There it
that one first.
I did.
Okay, then underneath at the bottom, there we go. Okay, so now let's see what you're telling me. On the left side of your screen, you don't have the downloads button. So now, go to your path bar way at the bottom where it says desktop yeah. Click on, ROBS, which is your name. Yeah. Okay. Now at the very top of in here, first of all, you shouldn't have all
Where's the
these,
top of in here?
well,
Oh, here's downloads.
there. Yeah, there's downloads. Now wait. I want you to drag it to the left and put it in your sidebar. Like
Okay.
drag it and drop it kind of like there. Yeah, anywhere. Yep. Let go of your mouse.
I'm just looking where I want it.
Okay.
I would think I would put it here.
Okay, great. Now let me just stop you somewhere. Hold on.
Okay.
Because in this folder called Rob's, right? Your name, you shouldn't have any loose files. So you see how you have 4 or 5 things that say 2023 at the top, and then
Yeah.
you have one that says Kiara and Lynn. Those should not be here. You definitely need to move these out. So I would say take them out and put them in your documents or your downloads or somewhere and then reorganize them.
Okay.
So go to them now. This folder, this place is not meant to be for, yeah. So now hold there, hold down the shift key, and then hold down on the last one of those 5. Hold down your shift key, and there you go. Now grab from anywhere and drag it into wherever, if you know, I guess desktop. Yikes, the one place I hate things to be, but that's okay.
You know,
Now-
my desktop is a mess because I haven't until yesterday or Monday, I didn't know how to get to the Mac
There you go.
thing.
So now move the 2 Kiara and Lynn family, those 2, move them also anywhere, including the desktop. Click shift click. Yep, move them out. Yep. And then in here, you shouldn't have like, can you click on that thing that says Graboid? And go to completed. Partial temp, what is this? Do you recognize anything called Graboid? I don't either, and
It might be a transfer from my old computer to my new. But
was
I
it,
really
was it a
don't
Mac
know.
or a PC? Yeah, because whatever it is, if
All
it's in
Mac.
like,
It's, I've only used Mac, but
yeah.
a very
Um,
to
I
this
would grab that and put it in
trash.
no, because we don't know what it's doing in your computer. Put it in downloads. We'll
Okay.
explore a little bit more and then
Oops.
wait, yeah, that is select and yeah, and that put it there.
Yeah.
And then install shield shouldn't be there either. Let's see. Click on that. Universal. See what I don't like about this view is it's not telling me how old or how new these things are. This is why I prefer seeing things by list because this all might be ancient. 2008. See, same with that Graboid. So go back on the arrow here or click, go back to the ROB. Oh, okay. Yeah, so go ahead and
That was
install Shield.
incompatible.
No, that was install Shield. It was install Shield.
Okay.
Now go change to list view so I can see the information of the file. See guys why the list is good? It kind of you need to go, you moved in, so you need to back out one more with the arrow. Go back to Rob's on the left sidebar. Okay, now go to view and shift to list. Yeah.
It shifted
So
on it.
now, there we go. Install Shield is from 2008. There's no way that's still working on your computer. So right click and delete. And and then the same thing with that Graboid that we said move to trash, go to downloads and double click and let's find that Graboid. It's probably from that time. Go ahead and view by list again. And 2012, there's 12
Incredible.
years ago.
Here it is.
Right click and
What happened?
you have to scroll up. You scroll down a bit. It's
Yeah, I don't know how to get there now because
you need to scroll. You need
Here
to
it
just
is.
scroll.
I just had to move it away from another screen.
There we go. Right click and move to trash. Anyway, so that's that for those 2. Go back to Rob's. There's one more thing that shouldn't have been there. The incompatible software shouldn't be there, but can you open the little arrow to see if there's anything in it? Yeah, it's empty, so right click and put it in the trash. The rest is what should be here. This is the only thing you guys should have in the folder that has your name. Rob's is the name, she's Robin, okay? Then David, that's
Can I
who
change
she
the name?
is. No, not right now, because that's your computer
Okay.
name, so that's not a good place to change anything. But wherever you guys see your name, on the side, if you see it, you might not see it, but if you do see it, by the way, do you have a sidebar that, do you have a mouse that goes sideways? Or do you have a touch bar? What do you have?
I have a mouse.
Okay, so you can move your finger sideways to drag it back to the left because, yeah, put your mouse and you can, here, the mouse, look at my screen, look at my, I'm gonna stop your share. Hold on. Oh, guys, it's 4:12. That means that those of you who need to leave, you couldn't leave 2 minutes ago. The class was officially over. So I'm helping. So let me just show you on this mouse. Can you see me now? Okay, this portion here functions as a touchpad. So you have to move left and right, or up and down with
Okay.
one finger to do a scroll. And so there you just needed you had everything had shifted to one side, so you need to shift it back. So one finger
see. Okay.
sideways.
Great.
Okay, that worked.
Great. Yeah,
All right.
that's the
Regular
magic
mouse.
part of the mouse.
That's the magic part of the mouse. Yeah, regular mice don't do that. That's the magic mouse does that. The PC mouse with the buttons doesn't do that. That has other magic things to it, but that's one of them. All right, guys, if you need to go, please go. Meanwhile, I'll keep answering a couple more questions, but if not, I'll see you with your clean downloads folders on Monday. And if you didn't do your homework, please still come to class. It's okay to not have finished. All right, Denise?
Okay, quick question. So in the downloads folder, if we have show preview and it's a malicious file, that's not going to be a problem, correct?
No, same with I do my spacebar. That's just seeing a preview. That doesn't give that file access as you're not opening the file. You're not installing it, so to say. If you're seeing a show preview, it might show you nothing if it's a folder. You don't want to run it, and to run it, you need to double click on it. So be careful to not double click on it. You just want
Okay.
to preview it, and you might not see anything. You might see, but don't then go, well, let me see what it is and double click, which some people do because they see nothing in the preview, and that's the problem, right? So if you see nothing and you don't know what to do with it, leave it in the downloads. We'll talk about it on Monday.
Okay, thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome. Viola. If you're talking to me, I can't hear you, but I don't see your face. I see only your eyes, so I don't notice. There we go.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. In the chat, after your name, there's a she, her, and Ella. I'm just curious. Ella is a name that I use in one of my passwords. And
No,
I'm curious.
that's a good one. No, my name is she, her, ella, because I speak Spanish, and ella is her, she, her in Spanish. So a lot
Okay,
of us,
so it has to do with you. It has nothing to do with me.
a lot of people who are bilingual, instead of just saying she and her or he and him, they also add el or ella, which people who
okay.
use Spanish, it just means that, but in Spanish. It's not
Okay.
a name. It's true. I never thought of it. Ella, it's also a name, but yeah, it's just, it's Spanish for her, she and her.
See. Okay.
In school, especially in the non-credit, in the credit portion that I teach in credit, there's a big push for a lot of us to be really open and understanding and clear about gender and stuff. And one way that you do that is by explaining yours. And so you just write that, and they know that you're someone who is open to hearing that someone who looks like one thing might have a name like another thing. And they, by doing that, you're inviting them to know that you understand it, whatever. I don't know how to explain
I
it.
see.
That's all it is.
Okay.
But it's not,
Okay,
It's
thanks.
it's not your name.
It's nothing to do with my password. Okay.
It's
Thanks.
Spanish. Nope.
Okay.
Barbara?
I'm having a horrible time. I'm trying to get 2 windows open on my desktop and I'm just not able to do it.
All right, so share your screen.
Okay. There we go. Share.
All right, so
So I have
Um,
this and I have this. Wait,
I only, you have 2 tabs. Yeah,
yeah, but I want to show.
you want to have them
Oh,
separate.
yes.
Okay, so it's not that hard, but it does take some doing. So go up to that same word applications where you just, to the tab, to the name of the tab. Now click,
That one?
no, the tab name, that one. Click and drag it out all the way to the left side of your screen, all the way out. You
Oh,
push it.
you gotta be kidding.
Let
Is
go.
that easy? Oh,
Now
my
you've
God.
separated the 2 tabs into 2 separate windows.
I was trying to do it from Finder.
Well,
Thank you,
there's no
Diane.
way you would have known. There's no way. That's what I'm here for. So you're welcome.
Thanks. Oh my gosh. So I'll leave you and you can help the next one.
Actually, I think you were the last question. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you have
All
a good
right.
afternoon.
You too. See you guys on Monday. Have a
Thanks.
great
Friday.
long time. Oh, for you Friday, because I see you in class on Friday. That's true. Everyone else, see you on Monday.
Bye.